welcome to day one of the North American Contenders Trials. I am Waffles for Sid. My partner in crime here is Amintus, and we are bringing you all of the action today. Amintus, how are you doing, and what have we got going on?
Well, myself personally, I'm doing fantastic. I'm very, very excited to be on my very first Contenders Trials broadcast alongside some fantastic talent with you, Waffles. And as for our matches today, we've got two bangers lined up for you. First up on your screens is going to be Dice Gaming versus Noble. And then second match will be Avidity versus Drifters. But to get into our first matchup of the day, let's take a bit to break down these teams here. So starting with Dice Gaming, if you've been paying attention to Open Division at any of these past few weeks recently, you're going to see a couple of familiar faces there in the player list, but they've gone under a lot of different names. Nocturnal, Antiku, Bubbles, Baller, Babes. Love that one the most personally, but nonetheless, they are now Dice Gaming. I was going to cast their finals match against ISU, but they unfortunately had to forfeit, so they came in as the second seed into this trial. So they've got a chip on their shoulders, and they want to prove that they actually deserve to be here.
As does everyone else here too. I mean, after going through so many different iterations and, finally assembling this team, it's going to be a lot of pressure to have that synergy. And this is Contenders Trials. We're expecting top level performance from everybody here today.
Exactly. I think everybody is watching at home, wondering, hoping, seeing, and trying to figure out which of these teams is going to be the best going into Contenders, because that is kind of the point of trials, in my opinion. This is your proving grounds to show everybody this is what you are capable of and how much better or worse you are compared to the rest of the field. And speaking of the rest of the field, on the other side of the map here, we're going to be seeing Noble. And this is a team that is full of a lot of experienced players. These are players that have been around for quite some time and have stuck together on this roster for quite some time as well, and you're going to see a couple familiar faces as well. I know that there's a lot of people that are going to be very happy to see LH Cloudy is back in the lineup for Noble. The Reinhardt god himself has made the return from retirement. He's playing in the starting six today. Ooh. Unfortunately, though, they are actually missing somebody else. They don't have Seeker.
Ouch. And, we've talked about Seeker a little bit before, and, you called out that he is a great hit scan player. And, without Seeker on the board, is Noble going to have more in the tank to handle some of those threats in the air? Or, is someone else going to have to step up to the plate and really fill those big shoes on the team?
Yeah, there's some pretty big shoes that have been left behind by Seeker. I don't know how big his feet are, but nonetheless, not having a dedicated hit scan player can come back to bite them. I don't think that's going to necessarily be the case, though, because something that I've been seeing recently in trials, contenders, at the tier 2 level in general is a very large pivot towards compositions that don't actually involve a lot of hit scan. You're typically going to see a lot of flankers, a lot of flex DPS type characters, Tracer, Echo, Sombra, even Wrecking Ball, D.Va in the mix a lot of the time. So a lot more dive compositions rather than the traditional brawl we've been seeing in the past couple of months. And I think that is going to actually favor having two flex DPS in, which is what we're going to be seeing for Noble. We have Nos and Aki, the starting two DPS, in their lineup today. So it'll be interesting to see whether they even bother pivoting towards Rush in the first place, because our first map is going to be Nepal.
That's true. As much as Nepal is not always suited for Rush, we do see it pretty consistently brought out here in, the North American side of the game. And, well, I'm looking forward to a little bit faster pace, more mobility from these characters, and seeing how they're going to really leverage this, current meta and play style in Nepal to try to create those advantages and, well, maybe punish the weaker links or some of that lack of synergy coming through.
Exactly. I think that's a very big talking point we're going to have to really hone in on today. Dice Gaming is a team that just kind of came together last minute. A lot of these components and a lot of these players have played together in the past, but this is really the first time we're going to see these starting six players in one squad. Particularly, I think we should take a look at some of the maybe less loud players in the kill feed, the supports. I think their backline of Vega and Pascal has a little bit of experience in Contenders in the past. Pascal played on I believe it was the Contenders winning roster of Noble previously. Vega's been around with Wisp for the past few months, and nonetheless, I think both of those players, they have a lot of experience in their own right, but it's really just about how that backline meshes in with everybody else, particularly Akash, who is a known leader at the main tank role for Dice Gaming. And really, my biggest question mark going in with Dice Gaming is, does the experience even make a difference? Because at the end of the day, it's really about how you play in this match. This is basically the only thing that matters at this point.
And, Overwatch is a very team-focused and oriented game. So not having some of that synergy could just be so critical and so detrimental to Dice Gaming. That really puts a lot of pressure on potential for individual performances as well. When you don't have all that synergy, granted, like you said, they've been playing for a long time in a different fashion together, but this specific group, I'm wondering if, since they are newer together, if they are going to have a lot of individual big plays and feel the pressure on their shoulders too to, actually show that they deserve to be here, even though, they haven't always been together.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think, at the end of the day, it really is just about performance on the day. And to be honest, looking at the other side with Noble, there's a couple of players that we have not seen play matches in quite some time. LH Cloudy, obviously, just coming off of that retirement. Right. And also Big Floppa. So if you're loading into this lobby and you see this name, obviously, you might have some preconceived notions. But this is actually a player that we have not seen for a very long time, as in like 2 years long. This is actually Rob Dab playing for Noble. So he's making a bit of a comeback in trials as well. So he's looking to prove that, hey, he's still got it. He can still play this game, even though it's been a bit of a long time since he's played in officials. But nonetheless, I really do hope to see that backline of Noble coming in and dominating in this matchup, just because of the fact that Lep and Rob Dab have a chip on their shoulders. They play aggressively. They want to take it to you. And everybody on Dice Gaming needs to be ready for that.
Oh man, and being ready to have something so aggressive thrown in your face, it's going to set the tempo for our first map. And in Control, I feel like tempo setting is so important because, well, the amount of capture point from the enemy can get really carried away. Yeah. You need to be able to win that first fight and snowball that advantage into the rest of the map. Because obviously if you win, you're likely going to have a bit more ult charge on those aggressive characters. And also you're going to have positioning advantage going into the subsequent fights. Everybody else on the enemy team is forced to rotate through some pretty long angles. And especially on this first sub-map of Nepal here, going through on these retakes, you really only have that high ground to go through. And when you're playing the ball comp, when you're playing something that wants to play a little bit split on the side of Dice Gaming, you really don't have a good opportunity to set up a good attack. Whereas on the Brawl comp, you want to stay together. Those retakes are going to be a little bit easier. And already we can see that Noble has decided to roll out with Brawl here. They do not want to play the meta. Oh, yeah. And, well, so far, still moving along. Go ahead and take it away, Amintus.
Well, looks like Noble just kind of rotating up here, trying to scout out what Dice Gaming is throwing at them. They see that they're running this Echo Tracer variant of Dive, and they're going to try to set up for a defensive hold, wait for the point to unlock before they really make any moves. Watch Big Floppa's ult charge in particular. That Baptiste window is very threatening in the face of some of these squishies, like the Echo and the Tracer.
Yeah, keep going on, Mintus. Looks like I missed my game feed here, so carry us up.
Okay, we got Ares on the Tracer roll, scouting from the left side of the pillar. The point is unlocked, but right now it's just Noble taking a lot of control. The first half of the capture percentage has been ticked up, but they're struggling to remove some of these squishies, and there they go. Aki gets the removal onto Ares, 5v6 going into the next portion, and Noble has captured this first point. So they're just going to be holding a little bit more defensively. Now that they have control, they can play this a lot slower. They know Ares is not going to be there for a while. Nobody threatening their backline, but Caution Beluga walking up, and the bubble just kind of goes to waste here. So not a lot of trading back and forth just yet. This is meaning a lot of support, ult charge, and now they're finally snowballing it. They're pushing forward. They get traded out though, and look, Dice Gaming has actually equalized. It's a 4v4.
Oh, thank you so much for covering that here. And, well, as they continue to take this point, they're gonna, well, just go ahead and, well, defend off here and hold strong.
Okay, well, the trades end up meaning nothing at the end of the day. Dice Gaming not having that control at the beginning. Obviously, if you trade kills in this manner, it's not really for anything. If you're the defending team, you are more than happy to give up a couple lives if that means you can still maintain capture percentage. And that is kind of the game plan at the end of the day. You want to always be ticking up, always have control for as long as possible. It's very hard to remove Brawl.
Sound Barrier comes through. Noble's been reinforced, trying to mitigate all this aggression. Trance saves Cyrus big time there in that duplicated form, allowing him to continue to move forward and take value for himself. Can he finish up with the follow-up kill? There it is. The Immortality Field coming in last minute. Manages to let Big Floppa win that duel, and Noble's continuing to hold strong.
Wow. Considering how, single-handed that was, they really just stalled it out, those defensives coming in handy in that late portion of the fight. Particularly Big Floppa's lamp did not have to come out until well after the beat from Lep, so layering those defensive resources, it's near impossible to get any actual picks and then snowball that into a point capture. And now as the percentage finally ticks over, it seems like Noble's going to have an easy time with it.
Last fight here, and it's a shatter, dropping Dice Gaming right in the front. Can they even aggress forward? Vega manages to get the pick, but it's gonna have to be more than that if they're gonna retake. More kills coming through for Dice Gaming, and Amintus, they're gonna be able to cap this here at the very last possible moment.
Ooh. Well, now you got to hold it for a while, though. That is the eternal dilemma when you're retaking in overtime. Now you have to start layering those resources properly, making sure that you don't overcommit in any of these engages, because if you look at the ult charge on a lot of these members of Dice Gaming, not a lot to speak of. Obviously, you're going to get some things in the mid-fight from the Tracer, from the Wrecking Ball, but in the face of this Matrix coming in from Big Floppa, which was a great tool for them in the past on the side of Noble, it's going to be difficult to build those ults with all that aggression coming through.
Yeah, it is going to be a lot of eyes on them here to continue. Looks like I'm having some more trouble with games. Take it away, Mintus.
I'm not gonna lie, my feed is frozen as well, and the backup is not working, so I have no idea what's happening right now.
Yeah, give us just a moment while we do some troubleshooting.
Adaptive circuits engaged.
Looks like we're getting the emergency live feed here. Okay, we're loading in. A couple of seconds. And in the meantime, Dice Gaming has somehow managed to clean up, even though Noble does flip it back in their favor here. Beluga seems to have been the carry for Dice Gaming, charged up on that Zarya, not able to go down in that mid-fight, allowing him to really pump in a lot of that damage. And again, the defensive resources from Noble seems to be the key that unlocks their aggression here. Once they come out, if Dice Gaming can stall out the fight before Noble trades back, that's their way back into these fights.
Yeah, and right now Dice Gaming has done a great job at still holding the defensive here. Those mines online could be a good zoning opportunity for them to take away Noble's attack, but Noble's just attacking straight here, up through the side, uncontested. No one's put any pressure on them yet, and now they have flooded onto the point. Minefield dropped in the middle of it there. Can Dice Gaming continue to hold strong? Noble's trying to aggress forward, but his grab in the corner, it's caught two people, and left goes down. A lot of sustainability off the board, and 84% and counting. Dice Gaming still holding strong.
Things are looking dire for Noble here, Waffles.
Yeah.
I mean, when you lose that fight so close to the end of the map, now you're in full panic mode. You're panic swapping. You're just trying to figure out how to contest. 5% remaining. Noble has ult, but they need a touch.
Blizzard could be huge. Pulse Bomb drops him so low, and there's the follow-up with the Slam. They just yeet the Blizzard straight onto the middle of the point, but it is going to be almost too little too late. They have to get capitalization off of it. Dice Gaming getting the kills they need. Amintus, that trance is going to keep everyone topped off, and it is looking good for them as they are continuing to hold atop the hill and fend Noble off one after another.
This is the reason why we've been seeing ball tracer comps played so frequently at the tier 2 level. When you get point control, when you have access to wherever you want to go on the map, you can attack specific members. Into a comp like Brawl that needs to play together and can't effectively deal with off angles, it is near impossible to take some of those fights, even with a massive ult advantage going into some of them. Noble struggled in the face of all of that particularly focused damage. Looks like we finally got the main feed back online as well, so we can get back into the match for real. Looking crisp in that 1080p. Glad to be back here, but nonetheless, I think Dice Gaming on that retake attempt, when it's full, this is all the cards are on the table. They need to flip it back in 99. That clutch factor comes in real handy for them.
Yeah, actually looks like I still need the backup feed if we get a little help there. But Amintus, keep it going.
All right. Looks like we got a TP out of spawn for Noble once again. He's playing that Brawl comp, but they've actually opted for double main tank. We got LH Cloudy on Winston and Icy on Reinhardt, so a lot of cleave damage, but no cleave necessary to snipe out the Echo from the sky. That is some sharp shooting from a Mei.
Oh man, and a sharp shooting Mei, that is not something you want to go up against. This is a nice long TP hover here going on. Not sure where, okay, finally deciding that's the spot that he wants to place it here. They're gonna be feeling good that they're already set up on the point. Dice Gaming has to push into a sim, Amintus, and that is never a fun time.
I mean, look at Kosh. He has to just roll through the point with the bubble from Beluga. He can't even engage. He's just trying to build charge for this Zarya to have a decent chance at winning this extended fight. And when he goes back in, the slam, the shields, they have to come out in time. It forces out the lamp from Big Floppa, so no defensives on the side of Noble.
Oh, and with no defenses on the side of Noble too, how are they going to continue to hold or to aggress forward? They're trying to stall this point out as much as they can, but Dice is just swept through, taking him off, and well, now once again, Dice is going to be set up on the point and looking to defend against Noble.
Wow. Okay, so we've seen this scenario before on the last map previously when Brawl was on those retakes into the ball dive comp. I mean, you get to that objective and you can stand there, but when it's not in your control, it's very difficult to actually flip some of these fights. And if the last map, or last sub-map rather, was any indication to go off of, I'm expecting Noble to struggle here once again. Look at Ares with this Pulse Bomb. If this finds anybody on the side of Noble, forces out those cooldowns, how can they stand on the objective?
He's going to be looking to repeat history with that Pulse Bomb. Doesn't find a stick, and the Immortality Field is there to mitigate any potential kills. Couple exchanges back and forth, but right now it is Noble trying to cap the point. Finally gets it flipped, but it's going to be probably very short-lived. Amintus as Dice Gaming just sweeps on through again.
I think the key for Noble here is when Lep has beat. Once Lep gets that sound barrier online, it's going to give everybody on Noble those defensive resources necessary to not only stand on that objective, but actually push out onto some of these members. Problem is, it really doesn't matter in the face of Cyrus's copy here. If he gets a good copy onto Icy's Diva, even Lep's Lucio for that same sound barrier, these fights are going to go on forever.
So much chip damage going into Noble on that opening arsenal. Just saw everyone drop a solid 15-20 health right there. Needs to give some tip. They talked off. Sound barrier is reinforcing Noble with Assaulto. Cyrus dupes the Lucio. All right, gonna be bringing in a little bit different type of style. He's trying to build that sound barrier, but can't quite find the value. Cloudy rips him out of the duplicate very quickly, and Dice Gaming still holding strong and getting the kills, Amintus.
Not even beat was enough. I guess Noble proved me wrong. I really thought there was some faith that it could be had there. Not the case, because once you use that beat and you don't even flip the objective in your favor, you're fighting a losing battle. And we can watch Kosh coming through on that slam, getting the roll kill onto Aki once that ice block is gone. No Mei means you have a much harder time as the Brawl comp dealing with all these flankers. You don't have that one-shot potential on the Tracer anymore. And already an early engage from a Kosh. Ooh.
That was just absolutely fantastic to see this at the end. Clean, clipped, punched him, and, well, that's a quick close to our first map as well.
I mean, what more can you do if you're Noble? You tried most of these neutral fights with the ult engages as well. Yeah, put up a decent fight, but at the end of the day, I think fundamentally Dice Gaming's composition, when they get point control, it's just built different, right? You just cannot really remove a lot of these individual components from contesting the objective while also having a pretty good chance of killing you. And at the end of the day there, Noble coming in here, they said, maybe we can try out Brawl Comp, and not going to be the case in terms of working at the very least on Nepal. So I think they're going to have to go back to the drawing board, select a map that maybe favors this composition a little bit more, or maybe even pivot comps entirely.
Well, I thought it was really nice to see how, Noble really adapted during that Dice Gaming adapted during that first round, came back at the very end. Obviously, it was just by the skin of their teeth, able to cap it in that OT bar of Noble having the 99% and then holding strong, mitigating all of the aggression that Noble was trying to bring forward. And, I was a little concerned how much room they were giving sometimes to just let them waltz onto the point. But, they held strong, they handled it, and they're like, oh, actually, we're encircling you for a trap. So No big deal there.
Yeah, sorry about my camera, by the way, everybody. I'm not exactly sure what's going on there. Nonetheless, to get back into this match, I do really hope that Noble comes into this next map with maybe some kind of different strategy involving their tank line, as well as just their entire setup in general, because of the fact that, yes, LH Cloudy is a very capable Reinhardt. We all know that, but it's just still not going to be enough when nobody's even playing on the same plane as you. They're on a different Y-axis, my guy. Like, you just cannot hit them with the hammer anymore. Shatter is pretty much useless against a team that just flies above you, right? So at moments there, I think Noble did a great job of pushing out some of the weaker threats, particularly the Tracer from Dice Gaming. And when you land those one-hit kills, when you get those headshot icicles coming out from Aki, it seems pretty easy for them, and that's what you saw a couple of the time.
Totally.
But it's just not consistent, right? It's a projectile.
Yeah, and that is, I mean, I would argue projectile players have quite a talent being able to lead people and anticipate and actually hit those shots. Hit scan is its own monster in itself, but the anticipation needed to be able to know where your enemy's going to go, and sometimes the redirects that they force their enemy to go are so difficult to time and hit. And I'm curious to see if we're going to see that leveraged more coming into Rialto. There's a lot of high ground going around on Rialto.
Very true. I think this is an interesting choice from Noble, particularly because of the fact that we just saw them struggle really hard retaking against the ball comp, playing into a lot of these individual members of Dice Gaming that like to take those off angles and really spread around Brawl rather than taking something front to back. And as we go towards Rialto, I'm thinking about how many fights there are on this map. If you're going to force Brawl once again here, Noble, you're going to really struggle, I think. So coming out of the gates, we need to watch very closely and see what kind of comp they come out with, because if they're not able to overcome the Wrecking Ball comp like we just saw, they're not going to have a good chance here.
Yeah, and the Wrecking Ball was devastating them in the back line, and you have got to protect the people he's harassing, otherwise you're going to be down a player almost every time. And the follow-up from those slams were on point coming through.
Oh yeah, that's what Dive is all about. It's about coordination. It's about following up on that chip damage. You can't just send one or two members in. You need to throw everybody and the kitchen sink at that play if you want it to make it work. But that's exactly what Dice Gaming does. It works out for them on that first map, and on the second map, Rialto, they're going to have a different look here. They're going towards something a little bit more long range on the attacking side. We've got the Hanzo, well, actually, not even going to bother with the attacking side. They're in spawn.
Don't do it.
Let's look at defense here. Noble going for the spawn camp with Rush. So they're hedging their bets. They're saying, okay, you might have beat us on the first map. It might have been a little bit hard to get some value on certain heroes, but for spawn camping, I don't think there's any better choice than Brawl.
I'm a fan of some of this close holding, time burning ambition coming through, but with both Ares and Cyrus flying around, it's going to be tough to even mitigate any of that damage. There's not a ton of people to contest outside of Nos, and well, Nos is going to have to make some dream plays if he's going to contest. Aki is the first person to go down, Nos follows suit, and well, Dice Gaming's going to get to roll this cart on forward.
That was a bit of a gamble coming out from Noble, especially putting Nos on that Widowmaker. I mean, it makes a lot of sense if you think, okay, we're going for the spawn camp, we can distract them and then have the Widow peek out from main, but it's Widowmaker. She's got 175 HP and zero heals to speak of. You can just throw a bullet or two in her direction, sneeze on her, if you will, and she'll be out of that fight entirely. So already Nos pivots back to the McCree on this retake, and Aki actually going back to the Tracer, into the double flying heroes. Interesting to see this because his only target is really going to be Pascal and that Ana, and on these retakes, it's going to be hard to find.
Nos does manage to get the kill, and Vega follows the death pool. Now Noble's able to get some traction and hold strong here as they're putting some pressure onto the air. Took him out of the sky, and well, they've regained this hallway control, Amentus.
Very true. What better way to wing clip an enemy comp that wants to fly around you than by killing the Mercy? Once Vega's gone out of that fight, Ares and Cyrus have to relinquish all that control, and now Noble, with 2.5 minutes remaining, have found themselves back on this cart. They've got the window from Big Floppa, which has unlocked them in the past. They're going to need some magic here once again because there's a lot of aggressive tools coming in from Dice Gaming soon.
Man, a lot of aggressive tools. That's an understatement. Ares is already down. That's one aggressive tool out of the bag. No barrage on board, but mines are going to be thrown instead. Big Flappa does manage to get that pick, and, well, Noble is trying to hold strong as Dice moves around on this high ground. The peppering damage coming through is, a bit to handle for Nos, but doesn't seem like it's putting in too much effect on their resources.
Nos trying to get some pick kills onto the supports. Once again, he channels the High Noon. It almost catches out the Echo, but it gets the ball instead. So 5v6 with this beat coming in from left. Noble's going to have an easy time for these next few moments, but here comes the bomb.
Oh, over the top. Doesn't find any kills, though. She's going to hop back in her mech, trying to find more. Does some great blocking for her fellow diva. Doesn't quite save her life in the end, but now that there's this back and forth with Dice Gaming's spawn advantage, they're going to be looking to move the payload.
Exactly. Having this spawn very close means even if you take a losing fight here at the very end of the day, you're going to have more people if it goes for a while. And I feel like, again, that is kind of the game plan for Dice Gaming. They want to outlast a lot of these fights when Noble wants them to end very quickly. Because if they lose a single member, they're going to really struggle. Ares already dueling Aki on that off angle. Both recalls have been forced, but Aki's the one with Pulse Bomb, and he's got some juicy targets. The Brig and the Ana are waiting for him.
Oh man, yeah, and he has been absolutely lethal coming through. Grav is online too, and well, Grav could shut down a team fight as long as it doesn't get eaten. Icy's gonna have a lot of pressure on his shoulders to mitigate some of that if possible, but Noble's holding strong, 3.4 meters until capped, and well, they haven't had any movement yet. 2.45, little bit more coming up, but Amintus, the shatter! It stops him right there, and the pin following up. Cloudy showing his stuff on the Rhine, and well, why he is known so well for that character.
Yeah, he camped that corner expertly, not allowing anybody to poke him from multiple angles. You can see Ares on your screen trying his hardest and actually buying enough time for the recontest to come back in. The spawn advantage is actually equal between these both teams, and they don't want to give it up.
Oh, High Noon being channeled as well. Nothing found after that, and well, it is still just stalled out here right before this first point. Mines in the backfield. That's going to separate Big Floppa from the rest of his team. He launches sound barrier forward to try to keep them alive and zips way around the side. They're still trying to mitigate around those minefields that Akash dropped, but Dice Gaming falling or continuing to hold strong, picking off members of Noble one after another. Amintus, finally, they're going to take it to the first checkpoint.
Took him a while, but they finally got it done like he talked about. Dice Gaming getting that first point capture, and very interesting to see this back and forth teeter-totter of retakes versus holds for these two team comps. I think the Wrecking Ball comp on retakes struggles if you can't get your ball in, and eventually Akash figures out that, yes, once I get Minefield, I can do whatever I want, so that's what unlocks it for Dice Gaming. Whereas on the side of Noble, they realize that these fights need to end quickly, so they're taking them very fast with opening picks onto Vega, and the Pulse Bomb getting eaten by Icy. That is so clutch coming in from Noble.
Nice job coming through. Ares putting in a lot of peppering work and just trying to keep the pressure on. Icy is going to be the one, though, in the kill feed, just flooding it there. And, well, once again, Dice Gaming trying to move the payload, but Noble just shut him down.
You know, this is something that we were kind of talking about before the match together, the impact of these off tanks and just kind of comparing them. Icy being this mainstay of tier 2, having a lot of that experience compared to Beluga, who's this ladder warrior, the ranked god, so to speak. And right now it's Icy dominating the kill feed on his signature diva, and he's got the self-destruct coming in soon. That could be so big on this bridge.
Beluga also goes down early. There's Icy winning that off-tank duel coming up, and oh, Noble continuing to fill the kill feed. Can they hold and mitigate? Dice Gaming doing a great job at flipping this. Those minefields have zoned so many people away from the cart. They can't aggress forward nearly as well, and with Cloudy separated and sectioned off Amintus, they're gonna have to regroup if they want to try and hold this second checkpoint.
I think the decision-making from Noble there is a little bit telling. They're saving a lot of these bigger space-controlling ultimates, particularly the tanks and the beat coming in from left soon. They want to make a stand at the final point of this objective, for whatever reason. Maybe it's to try to have an easier time with the cover, because that's what helped them on first point. So now, retaking into this, it's going to be difficult because there is no cover.
Big aggression coming through onto the high ground from Icy, but no kills are yielding yet. Like you said, a lot of ultimates in Noble's pocket, and the self-destruct landed on the top. Looking to zone people more out of the way and, well, keep anyone in that high ground sectioned away. Earthshatter finds just one there, but it is Vega who's gonna go down, and, well, Dice Gaming doesn't have nearly as much brawl capability after that.
They still want to try to fight. They throw out a late grab from Beluga, plus the copy from Cyrus, but they're already down 3, and Ares gets his recall force out as well. This is overtime. I mean, this fight is basically already over.
Yeah, right now, Noble is doing a great job at holding strong. OT Bar is going to trickle down, and that is an incredible defense coming through, and pretty different from what we saw in Control.
Yep. I'd say a total reversal of fortunes for both of these teams. I think, in retrospect, looking at the map choice of Rialto from Noble might have made a couple people scratch their heads, particularly me. I just think that, again, this is a very wide open map that the Wrecking Ball dive can have a pretty easy time into. Clearly not the case. Once the cart is in a disadvantageous position for Dice Gaming, you start to see the problems with the composition. Retakes are just really difficult when you don't have a lot of lanes for your Wrecking Ball to maneuver through. Akash on that ball really only had a lot of impact when he had the mines online. And when that happens, you're basically fighting a 5v6 throughout a lot of these fights, and that leaves everybody else very open. You're going to see Vega getting shattered. You're going to see Ares and Cyrus getting picked off before fight starts. When you don't have a full 6-man squad that can have impact in these fights, Brawl Comp can group together and push somebody down very easily.
I want to say that I did like Akash's placement of the mines on that first point, though.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful. Both supports were zoned out. Granted, big flop on the BAP being zoned out, not as detrimental, right?
Yeah,
Might be even a little better for him to force him to stay a little, out of the thick of the fight.
Right.
But, having Lep forced into the back line where he can't do anything to support but throw his sound barrier, oh, beautiful.
And speaking of Big Floppa, coming into this match, I was kind of questioning whether or not RobDab would be actually able to perform at this level, and so far, have not seen him getting exposed at all. He still seems to got it. Like, for whatever reason, he took a 2-year break, came right back, and is still competing with some very decent players on the side of Dice Gaming, so maybe this is a victory for the old men. We'll chalk it up for us.
Hey, well, there's also a bit of experience that comes with that, and not just gameplay experience, but experience in handling pressure and in leading people under pressure and helping them handle it. So, sure, there's a lot of that going on as well from someone as senior as him. Right now, the payload has been moved around this first initial corner. Noble's still aggressing forward. Beluga's been sectioned off. That's it. Game over for Beluga. Charged into the ice wall. And now Noble has everything in their court to continue to follow up.
Nice wall coming in from Aki there to cut off the only escape route. A late contest coming in from Dice Gaming. They're trying their hardest to stall this out, but they're really just throwing bodies at the payload and giving ult charge over. Lep goes very deep into the supports. Ares trying to capitalize, and even though LH Cloudy goes down, it feels like Noble has this under control.
I do agree with you. Even though late pick by or onto LH Cloudy, Noble had that in the bag. And, well, now they're continuing to take all this space and try to prevent Dice from having any foothold of opposition.
I gotta say, I'm very impressed with Nas's McCree, or rather Cowboy, so far in this match. He's actually not been struggling too much as Icy does go down late in that fight, but overall, a lot of these members from Noble, you might have had some notions going into it, but so far they are performing consistently well.
Got some supports supporting each other in the back line. Make sure you do that in your own games, folks. Akash misses the pile drive. Thought he was going to hop on that second floor, but decides to opt for the lower one instead.
I see.
Blizzard eaten again, this time by Beluga, though. That's a big engagement off the field for Noble, and Dice Gaming has turned the tides and taken this advantage and flipped it into a win defensively here.
With only a Transcendence committed as well. Everybody else maintaining their ultimates on the side of Dice Gaming. So great economic hold from them off the eat from Beluga. LH Cloudy decides to take a dip in the water, something I think you have a little bit of experience with as a pro swimmer, but we'll save that for some other time. Focusing on the game, we've got 4 minutes left for Noble to set up an attack here. And although the cart is not very far away, we're coming up on a portion of Rialto that is just extremely difficult to push through on the attacking side. This bridge is a death trap for Brawl Comps.
Oh man, you're asking to be bowled over. You're like bowling pins right there, waiting for a cache to just strike through. Nobody went for a swim that time, but waiting out the mines, gonna have to wait till they push forward. More waiting from the bomb, Amentus.
Well, it just doesn't find anybody. It seems like Noble's able to kite away pretty easily from that one. Maybe a shot a little bit shorter than he wanted to. Nonetheless, Noble trying to come in on this retake once again. There's a lot of explosive tools on the side of Dice Gaming. Aries building up that pulse bomb, but he gets his recall forced. Late window from Big Floppa as well, and that removes a Kosh.
That is a huge pick for Noble to open up this fight. They're going to roll this payload forward as Dice is trying to skirt around in this inside building here. Noble wants to take this brawl closer, and they're moving forward, trying to close that gap. A pulse bomb, while we're not paying attention, takes down Nos, but it is Dice Gaming who are continuing to try and aggress and hold strong. LH Cloudy with a big pin coming through, doesn't find a kill, but can he continue this momentum for the team?
Noble's trying their hardest. Lep gets an exit pick onto Pascal as well, but it's traded almost immediately by Beluga. This is what we were talking about. These teams do not want to give up fights. They will fight them till the bloody end, and they know the stakes are on the line here. If this first win comes through for them, they're going to put themselves in a great position for the rest of Trials.
And that victory box is coming up very quickly for Noble. It is an easy win condition for them to see, and they're just at the cusp of it. A big wall comes through, but can they capitalize on Vega being singled out? Doesn't manage to find anything there. Pulse bomb was huge, Amentus. That's gonna shut down Noble.
Ooh, back to the spawn room for you guys. Obviously, you know there's a lot of people left for Noble, and this is just more and more stagger time, it feels like, for Dice Gaming. And already we can see the struggles of trying to push across this bridge. It's just too wide open. There's too many angles you're going to have to worry about. And when you can play it slow like this from the Wrecking Ball dive comp, you're going to build up a lot of ultimates over time, namely this Transcendence from Pascal. He's had the opportunity to build it in the mid-fight and only commit it near the end, and already he's back up at 60%. That defensive tool is allowing Dice Gaming to play each of these fights exactly how they want.
We got ults for days online for Noble, and, well, it's gonna be all about using or losing them here to take this fight. Shatter from the high ground drops everyone down. Dice Gaming just clearing out. No one's here. Opposing and trying to prevent this payload from being moved is inching forward more and more as two Diva bombs fly across the map in either direction. No kills found from either one, but Cyrus is trying to hold strong and find value on this Echo. Big Floppa's the bloodthirsty support taking him down. Trance is keeping everyone topped off from Dice Gaming, but it's not going to be enough. As soon as it runs out, his life runs out, and with the self-destruct over the top, Icy finds 2 kills nice and clean, and that is going to wrap up this Rialto map with a Noble win.
We're back to 1-1, basically fully even, best of 3 for the rest of the map, or best of 2 rather, for the rest of the series. So Noble able to tie it up on their map choice, and I gotta say, off at the back of some great Diva gameplay from Icy over there.
Yes.
He was doing a lot of work when it came to pushing vulnerable targets, getting a lot of clutch matrices out, big bombs as well. And at the end of the day, when you have a Diva player that's just got so much impact in the dive composition, you're so concerned typically with focusing out certain squishy characters that you kind of forget about a character like Diva, who can really sneak up on you and surprise you. So Icy leveraging the lack of focus being put on him and really performing.
Yeah, and there's a lot of follow-up from him for his teammates, right? Off-tank isn't always going to be the main flashy play unless it's the ultimate, but it's the defense matrix during the barrage that really helps give his team that extra edge they're looking for. And, obviously help them turn the tide on this Rialto map. That was a day and night performance, in my opinion, from the first control map we saw out of Noble. And, I'm grateful that we have some heating up matches because, Amentus, the EU broadcast, they had 3 zeros this morning. Okay, we got bangers here in the North American one today, and I am so thrilled about that.
I'm living for it too. And honestly, looking at the talent pool within this month of Trials, feels like a lot of these teams are surprisingly evenly matched outside of, I'd say, ISU Redbirds, who obviously we could have a very long conversation on them in our own right, but today we have to focus on the 2 teams playing in front of us. And so far, Dice Gaming and Noble have been evenly matched past these 2 maps, and As we rotate towards Dice Gaming's next map choice, they're going to have the opportunities to select what they want. They get to define the terms of engagement for these two teams, and that's going to allow them to select something where Brawl might not be as playable.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what they do choose for their map. It'll be their first map choice, right? As they, did lose that first one or the second one. And, what do they think are their strengths? We'll have to see, what they show us and what they do want to bring to the table. Folks, we are going to take a quick break in between these maps, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with our next one. Hey folks, and welcome back to Contenders Trials North America Day 1. We are here approaching our third map of Dice Gaming against Noble, and Amintus, it's 1-1, and these guys came to play.
Absolutely. It's been back and forth so far this series. First map going the way of Dice Gaming off of some great retake attempts with that ball dive composition. And then Noble claps right back with the Brawl one-trick map on Rialto, doing a great job, actually, of defending on second point, which was kind of surprising considering a lot of those members of Dice Gaming should have an easy time on this map, but nonetheless, they have sort of downloaded what feels like what Dice Gaming is trying to do in some of these maps. And already we're going to see another big change here. We're going to Blizzard World for our third map of Hybrid. This is a much higher ceiling, so you can likely going to see some more Echo, maybe even some Pharah coming out from Dice Gaming. But I fully expect Noble to keep playing Rush.
Yeah, well, it looks like Noble is very comfortable on that rush composition as well. And, they did perform very well. They stopped it just before that second checkpoint. And, their first checkpoint defense was also very, very solid.
Yeah.
if this is what's working for them, that's what they need to bring to the table if they're going to continue to progress. But you talked about Dice Gaming pretty much downloading kind of what Noble was doing a bit, and I wonder if that could spell trouble for them.
Yeah, maybe that download got interrupted. I think their ISP might have gotten switched up or something. But as we go toward Blizzard World, I think the story that we're going to have to watch is Nos once again, if he decides to come out on McCree. I think that was sort of the key that allowed everybody else on Noble to not have to worry about some of those aerial heroes, not have to worry about Akash's Wrecking Ball as much anymore. And if he's able to put up numbers and performances like that on McCree consistently, missing Seeker is not going to be a problem for Noble going into the rest of Trials. If they still have a capable hit scan player in Nos, I can't really see where the Brawl comp has any weaknesses left.
I was about to say something similar. With Nos's performance, you're absolutely right. They're not worried about missing Seeker because Nos has said, I'm here to step up to the plate. I'm going to be the person that'll be clutch, give you that relief, and allow everyone to continue taking the space they need. We were concerned about the hit scan department for Noble, and it is great to see that the competition level has really brought out the best of Nos.
Absolutely. And I think now is the time to show your flexibility. Obviously, Nos coming into this match was on the bench previously for Noble, had to step up once there was nobody left to fill that sixth slot left by Seeker. So great start and great performance from him so far, but they need to close it out because this is a best of 3, or a best of 5 rather. They've still got to win 2 more maps, and as we go towards the choice of Dice Gaming, things might get a little bit more dicey for them, no pun intended. I think the Wrecking Ball comp in particular on defense here, you can hide around a lot of these corners, surprise some rotations coming through from Noble, and really start to punish some poor positioning from the backliners. I think Lep, Big Floppa, and even Aki sometimes have been getting exposed, but not consistently enough for Dice Gaming to leverage that into a long-term advantage. And they need to try and do that again, basically on every single one of these fights, because there's going to be nowhere for them to hide once they reach the objective, once they're on these very long paths towards the objective. So as we actually see Dice Gaming pivot towards Double Shield, it's a new look entirely for them once again. They're not even going to bother playing dive here.
I mean, don't fix it if it's not broke. And Noble looked very comfortable on that, and well, we'll have to see if Dice Gaming is going to be happy with setting up this far away, or if they're gonna, well, it looks like they're gonna be more than happy setting up this far away with the Orisa.
Yeah, I think the good strategy here is to cover this right side, especially when you have a lot of long-range spam coming in from characters like Ashe, like the Torbjorn, and even the Baptiste in some circumstances. You can poke down the shield of Reinhardt, force out the Matrix from the Diva, get a lot of these defensive resources out of the way, and as you can already see, LH Kadi's at half HP, and even though Noble's going to rotate into this right side, likely to go fully around and reach the high ground behind them, they're still going to use up a lot of time to do so. So, if Dice Gaming can win this first fight, build up some ultimates, and buy some time on first, they're going to have an easy time on defense.
Moving all the way around, a lot of time taken out of the bank already with 3:26 left on the clock. Dice Gaming has moved on to, or continued to move back as Noble's moved on to the point here around the side. A little bit of a kite back as some damage coming through, trying to regroup a bit and get that top off. Ooh, a nice halt comes up, forces even more resources out of Noble as they rotate around. Now they've moved through this other alleyway, almost like where the defenders would be spawning from, pushing forward here. Dice Gaming needs to hold strong momentous as Noble's gonna drop the Ant Matrix from the high ground, just bombarding them from above.
They can't touch the objective. 2 ticks have already gone over. Almost a third. Akash has to be the one, but the lamp gets forced out. That's going to give Noble the advantage in this fight.
Oh, Shatter comes through. 5 out of 6 people taken down with it. Now they're continuing to capitalize off of it. And, well, that is all. Noble in the kill feed, continuing to clear Dice Gaming off and gonna go ahead and cap it.
I really love how Noble took that engage once they realized the strengths of Dice Gaming's composition. First, you recognize that Beluga on that Sigma on the high ground in the back of point needs to be taken care of, so they go for a much longer rotate to push him off. Then they realize that nobody on Dice Gaming can really stand on the point longer than us, except for Akash, but for whatever reason he chose to play off of it, give it up some ticks there. So Noble, and they force Dice Gaming into them without really having to use too much besides that Ant Matrix either. Now, on this next engage, they've got a lot of space controlling tools, but they have to deal with this Bongo from Akash.
I I mean, 4:20 left on the clock. It is a long push coming through for Noble here. And I mean, Dice Gaming set up behind the shield, going to be looking to try to mitigate when they push on through this main alleyway. Oh, going around for the high ground. Going to be a much better vantage point. High Noon popped by Nos. He's going to be looking for any kills he can, but everyone's decided to stay out of sight and out of line of fire. Behind! Flashed him! Gone right there, Amintus.
He's done. And the mail coming out from Aki as well to secure it. That's such a great flank coming in from Nas, because I'm sure everybody on Dice Gaming was like, okay, this guy just popped by Noon. He's probably just going to stay up there with his team.
Yeah.
Nope, just drops in, gets the flash fan, and that's over before it even starts.
Oh.
Fortunately for Dice Gaming, they have some good ways back into this. They're going to have the rally from Vega. They have the Bob from Ares as well to contest. I think it's going to struggle in the face of these tank ults from Icy and LH Cloudy, particularly the Shatter. Ooh, this might be a big combo.
There it is, a bomb does manage to find Vega off of it, but can Noble continue to push forward off of that kill? With a Brig out of the equation, a lot of brawl off the table as far as wanting to get two forward, but Noble's backed off and waiting here for a bit of an opportunity to aggress forward.
Interesting. So they get that pick, but they can't really stand on the point in the face of the Bob plus Torbolt combo. So they just decide to kite it out. Now they're rotating back to the high ground to force out Beluga once again, and he's very low.
Two Ant Matrixes, one from either side. It's Pascal's who's more valuable, taking down Big Floppa as it is. Now it is a complete brawl here as Dice once again took Noble back to the spawn.
Those support ults coming in handy for Dice Gaming, and that's why I brought up Vega and Pascal. These two players have had that competitive experience. They are reliable for Dice Gaming. You can count on them to perform under pressure, particularly Pascal on this Baptiste. He has been playing this hero and dominating with it in the past, coming up big once again with those windows.
Noble here continuing to change up their routes of pathing. I do like how many different types of pathing routes we've seen come from them. It's not just the same old tired, oh, we'll keep trying the one high ground route. Along this side here, there's a lot of peppering going on, and they are below Dice Gaming, taking some of that onslaught damage. High Noon in this back here is going to be zoning a lot of people out. Can he find the skull? Not quite. Gonna continue peppering from that back line. He rolled straight into the Flux, but can the Flux prevent anyone else from falling? Oh, there's some back and forth going through, but Dice Gaming continuing to hold strong at 2.24 meters, Amensis.
Ooh, so clutch coming in right when they need it. Nice Flux from Beluga, and Nos decides to assist them by walking right into it. And again, we're seeing a bit of a replay of what we saw on the first map, where when Rut doesn't really have a good defensive resource with that sound barrier, it seems like Noble struggles in the mid-fight. They can rotate to the right places, they can stand there, but once these ults come through for Dice Gaming and you don't have that sound barrier to respond, Noble is naturally just going to struggle.
And you know, I have to say I naturally struggle when I don't have a sound barrier to help me out either.
Yeah, I get that.
Oh, that's Fire Strike.
Yeah, just decides to hit the lip there. But Noble on this rotate, they're trying to force out the high ground once again, but Beluga's got support from Pascal this time, so he's able to stay there for longer. Uses that kinetic grasp to stay up, and Pascal drops the window. Another pick.
That is a big pick. With Lep out of the picture too, Noble is not going to be able to aggress as fast towards Dice Gaming at all. And once again, Noble is forced to give room, but there's only 30 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, they can't aggress, but they can't really run either. You're going to see a lot of late staggered members coming out from Noble. With only 25 seconds remaining, sure, you have 5 ultimates, but now the cart's rolled back far enough where there's a potential chance of a second recontest coming in for Dice if they can stall it out. Look at how they're playing. They're rotating into the remaining 2 members.
Oh,
they are stuck in no man's land.
He can't even charge out of the way. Turret is gonna mow him down before. Yeah, here we go. Noble on the back. Nos, High Noon zones everyone away. Are they about to cap it? Oh, that was so close. Sound barrier reinforces everyone on Noble, but the bomb from Icy over the top once again, claiming 2 lives. Noble's trying to flip this fight in the last moment, relive those first control point days, but is it gonna be enough? The stun and the punch takes Ares down, and well, Amintus, they pulled it out of a hat once again.
Icy must be a magician with these bombs, man. I really don't understand how they continue to get value like this, especially into double shield. I mean, you've got more than enough to start blocking those, but again, it does feel like Dice Gaming just has too many fires to put out here sometimes. Noble, when all of their threats are online, when all 6 players are performing, it's just overwhelming in this brawl competition.
Flux opens up the fight for Dice Gaming. Doesn't manage to find the slam. He's killed before he can. Now there is a trade onto Aki, but I don't know if that is going to be enough. Noble's continuing to aggress forward, trying to cleave the damage away from Dice and the heals. Bob is thrown into the mix on top of it. That is so much damage coming through, and this late pin is going to be nice, but it's LH Cloudy going back to spawn.
And Icy getting back there as well. Aki being the first death in that engage, even though that Beluga's Flux was canceled, you lose a lot of that staying power, that strength on the front line to shut out the tanks of Dice Gaming. And Akash and Beluga recognize that fully. They start walking all over the Brawl comp in that mid-fight. And now with 15 seconds remaining, we're seeing some last-minute pivots again from Noble. Nas goes over to the Hanzo, Icy to mirror the Sigma. They need to get some picks to open this fight now. It's all on Nas and Aki.
A lot of pick potential from Nos on that Hanzo. Dice Gaming has the Ant Matrix. Of course, popped back here, safe and sound. He's going to be keeping so many people topped off. What a beautiful immortality field. Akash would have been toast if it wasn't for him. Noble has been corralled backwards into their own immortality field and into a bit of the side room here, trying to stay on the point to contest this OT bar. But the heals that Pascal is pumping out are absolutely monstrous. He gets stunned for a moment, but it doesn't matter. His team is there to cover his back, and they are continuing to force Noble back and away and just pick them off one by one. Amintus, OT bars trickling down, and that was a great defense coming through at the end.
Well, I said it was on Nasanaki, and judging by the ult charge, they were unable to pop off. And that's okay, right? You were in a very disadvantageous position. It was a last-ditch attempt for Noble to eke out as much card percentage as possible. And at the end of the day, pushing it halfway through second is nothing to scoff at either, especially considering the circumstances of these two teams. I really do think that on the again the other team's map choice here for Noble, they're coming in one-tricking this brawl composition and still having a pretty decent time with it.
And, you know, third point here is not the easiest to capture by any means, of course.
Absolutely.
You've got the spawn advantage in favor of the defenders, and you're pushing into so many different angles that they can cover and create crossfires. And yeah, so I'm curious to see if, Dice Gaming is going to be able to really punch through the defense of Noble, or if Noble's got this.
Well, I mean, in the past on Rialto, this is where Noble made their mark. They had a great first hold on first and second rather. And again, that was kind of off of them abusing some of this terrain, being able to utilize the structures around them as cover from a lot of this spam damage coming through, particularly against Cyrus and Akash. I think Akash in the past had struggled to open up some of these fights on ball. He was getting effectively chased down and focused out. But now on Blizzard World, there's a lot more alleys you can take. There's a lot of better cover for both sides here. So that dynamic is going to play out on your screens right now. And it's all about these tanks, in my opinion. LH, Cloudy, and Icy have been the difference makers for Noble so far, and Akash and Beluga have to step up to match it.
I totally agree with you there, and LH Cloudy's still doing very well on this Reinhardt, regardless of what the game meta is these days. Cyrus here putting in that good pepper damage, but it's the pocket from Vega that's going to keep him able to keep this pressure and, to maybe try to find a kill. Ooh, he almost gets killed himself there at the very last moment. Amintus, the pick onto Nos, opening up from Pascal. Probably just launched a volley at him. Didn't know that was going to be headed his way, and now Dice Gaming is getting aggressive. Oh, the pick onto Cyrus from Cloudy. And
what?
How did they do that?
What? He just walked all over them. He just swung and killed 3 people instantly. And now they're staggering Pascal, who did open up this fight. He's just watching as his team falls apart around him. Ares trying to salvage it with the pulse bomb. He actually gets a pocket from Pascal with those orbs, but it's a 2v4, and Noble's coming back in full strength very soon. So I'm fully expecting Dice Gaming to try to give up a little bit of control. And it doesn't look like they really want to just yet, but they have to wait for Pascal to get back if they want to have a chance.
LH Cloudy is going to warrant a fly swatter skin for Reinhardt after that. Ant Matrix popped up from Big Floppa though. Can Ares find anything in this backline? He doesn't have the pulse bomb. He's just here to pepper. A key goes down. There is the follow-up from the ball. Of course, the tag team coming through. That is what Dive is about. Noble has dropped their sound barrier, trying to keep themselves in this fight defensively. Let's coming up big with 2. And, well, on that note, I don't think Dice Gaming is going to be able to aggress forward anymore.
Feels like Cyrus and Vega have just been struggling so much into what Noble has thrown at them. And even though they are able to fly above the Brawl composition, they're still getting focused out and removed very effectively, without a hit scan threat, mind you. Nos just swapped over to Tracer and spawned Camp Pascal on that fight. Again, removing the Zenyatta, that enabling piece in this dive composition. So on this retake, Dice Gaming, they have all the cards in their favor. They've got 6 ultimates. They just need to put something together without getting traded out.
It's pretty much their fight to win. They just need to be mindful of how they're engaging with it. Earth Shatter comes through, doesn't find too much coming off of it. The Flux is going to be following up. Does Cloudy survive? Immortality Field keeps him up. Big brains coming through from Big Floppa. There's a lot of exchanges though. This could be the opportunity for Dice Gaming to aggress forward, but with Nos coming up and cleaning up on that Tracer, there's no hope there.
Oh, that was almost a nasty one clip onto Ares as well, and now he can track him down without that recall. Gets the tag team from Icy to force him out as well. And again, you're seeing these disparate, separate pieces of Dice Gaming getting singled out and focused once the ults come out. Ares stuck out in basically nowhere, gets the pack and has to recall once again. So this Tracer duel between Nos and Ares seems to be the point of focus for both of these teams.
They're trying to create those advantages for each other, and the amount of pepper damage that they have been putting into any of the other supporting characters has been absolutely, annoying at the very minimum. Couple exchanges already, but the pulse bomb is thrown, doesn't find anything. Big Floppa and Nos have already gone down, and Dice Gaming are feeling good about this push. They're gonna have to take down the rest of Noble here as LH Cloudy is still aggressing forward and cleaving with his Reinhardt. Pascal, the bloodthirsty support, once again coming up with a punch kill, and it looks like Dice Gaming is going to be able to hold this point and take it.
Don't count them out just yet. It looks like Noble wants to try, but can they even touch? Looks like they won't be able to. Just oh, they get it in time. The beat comes in from left.
That's huge coming through. They're going to be reinforced for this last fight. Minefield has to be committed by a cash, and LH Cloudy does go down in the end in the corner. Icy only found 1 kill with that bomb, but it's a little too late as they've already capped that first point of Mintus.
And now they're finally going to be able to get some control in this map. Dice Gaming takes the full 4 minutes to get the capture under their belt, but they do make it happen. They had to use so much time to do so, and this is the real problem against Brawl. Brawl is really good at standing on the point and making you waste a lot of time. LH Cloudy and Nos tag teaming together, trying to make the difference here, but Beluga with that clutch eat onto Nos's pulse bomb. He's going to be missing that one.
Yeah, and Nos has been a huge instrument in opening up picks with that pulse bomb, or getting so much damage that, someone else can help follow up on his attack. Freeze comes through, then the Blizzard Throne to make sure no one's going to be eating it today. Aki is trying to find additional value and tries to freeze up a cash. There he is, does manage to freeze both of them one after another, but it's too much to handle. They are there protecting each other, and they're going to have to back off Momentous.
Seems like Nos and Aki, their ultimates are, they're hit or miss, right? If they land, they land, and if they don't, they don't. A little bit of a late contest coming in from Noble, but once those DPS ults just don't work for Noble, there's not a lot of other things outside of those tank ultimates that can then end the fight. You need some way to open it up as well as a way to close it. So you're typically seeing LH Cloudy and Icy ult to engage, whereas Nos and Aki ults to close. Right there, the Blizzard does not close. They use the Trank, the Rally. They just run away from it, and it doesn't get any value. Now with this bomb coming in from Beluga, they want to go deep.
Pulse Bomb actually finds Vega in the back, but Cyrus coming up with a hat trick in the kill feed here. Now Dice Gaming has knocked open the doors for them to just waltz on through, and, well, that's going to be a second checkpoint, going to be capped very quick.
And a late swap from Aki over to Sombra, unable to get a lot of EMP charge. So you're sacrificing a lot of neutral strength in these fights for ultimates, and already he just says, okay, that was a failure. I'm going to play Torp here. Cyrus with this copy going deep, getting these staggered kills onto 2 members of Noble. This is a 4v6, and that means more free cart progress for Dice Gaming.
Very fast closing out that last one, but very fast compared to the full 4 minutes of our first point.
Right.
Cyrus, though, has been, really finding a good rhythm in these last few fights. Came up big with that hat trick and once again finding value on that duplicate. Curious to see how they're going to want to engage. Oh man, who's the victim? Who's got the pulse? And Aki is going to be the first person to go down. There's nothing you can do about that without any Baptiste in the field. And now Dice Gaming wants to aggress forward. Noble has responded with their sound barrier, trying to keep themselves in this fight. But I don't know if that's going to be enough. That Discord is putting in a lot of extra damage, and the self-destruct doesn't find anything over the top. It's going to be a lot on the board, but Luca's self-destruct, though, does come back, claps a couple people, and Dice Gaming continuing to roll this point forward with only 55 seconds left.
That spawn advantage came in huge for Dice Gaming, and now with 50 seconds and the cart being so close to completion, having a bunch of tools coming online in the mid-fight, and a late kill onto Nas as well, there's really no chance for Noble to even touch. Wow. That's going to be the end of our third map. Dice Gaming are up in this series 2-1.
Man, that was quite a different map in comparison to Rialto, at least coming out from both Noble and, Dice a bit here. Thought that it was, very obvious Noble was more uncomfortable in this type of team composition and on this map, but that's what Dice wanted. That's why they're here, and that's why they picked Blizzard World.
Exactly. I think that's a part of that interesting mind game in these best of fives. When you lose a map, you can pick something you feel comfortable with, but really, I have to point to Dice Gaming's double shield comp that they ran on defense. I think that really took Noble off guard, and they just were not ready for dealing with that. I feel like they had a much easier time dealing with the ball comp on Rialto, so then going into the third map, they kind of expected that to happen once again, and then they come out on double shield. They stall for a really long time on, I believe it was second point, where they bought a lot of that time for themselves, and then going into third, it's just really difficult to push when you only get one chance. So Noble going back to the drawing board once again. And we talked about it before, Waffles. This is a very even series so far.
Yeah, and things have been going back and forth, like even in the middle of the maps, we see very clear shifts in tempo and, one team will really get some strong footing and at the last moment, boom, doors get knocked open, they get a little relaxed or complacent, and then Dice Gaming came through, capped it at the last possible second again, and was able to take the map for themselves. So, I have to say, is Noble getting a little too relaxed towards the ends of the fights? Because that is, not the first time we've seen Dice come through and flip it at the 99 OT bar mark.
That is a good question. In Trials, the stakes might be a little bit lower than something like Contenders or the final spot for OD to get into Trials or something like that, right? This is the first match for both of these teams. There's a good chance that maybe Noble kind of asleep at the wheel sometimes, but I think it's far more likely that Dice Gaming's composition is actually tooled to go the distance as compared to Brawl, right? Because the Brawl has a lot of front-loaded resources, a lot of these tools that you can use right at the beginning of the fight to get an early advantage and then push that into the end of the fight, abuse the numbers that you gain from it. The problem is, with Dice Gaming's composition, they have so many different ways into fights, the mines, the pulse bombs, the copies. Even if you remove somebody, there's going to be somebody else to step up to the plate and try to hit a home run.
And everyone on these teams, in particular from Dice, have really been stepping up. We mentioned, Seeker isn't here and, usually fills that hit scan role. Doesn't matter. Nas has decided they're happy, more than happy, and obviously more than capable to put the pressure on and to fill some of those shoes. So, really good props coming through. And, we've talked a little bit about the synergy of Dice Gaming and how, they may not have all of it since they have some subs. They've been thrown together relatively recently, but this has been a very strong performance for those conditions. And, it seems like they are, when they're on, they are rolling strong, and they've got that almost telepathy with each other.
Telepathic, yeah.
Yeah. They're reading each other's minds. But, when it gets a little rocky, it feels like it definitely cartwheels out of control a lot more.
And there's a little bit of a saying in Overwatch, and it's regarding snowballs and 2CP. If you win the first point dominantly enough, you're going to win the second. And when the wheels fall off the cart, it's very hard to reattach them with the amount of time you're allotted. So It's going to be interesting to see both of these teams on the control game mode, or rather the assault game mode here. 2CP notorious for those snowballs like I talked about, and if the Brawl comp of Noble can really get control on that first point, single-handedly capture it without having to commit a lot of ultimates, they're going to have an easy time rolling it into second. But beyond that, if you lose that initial advantage and you can't really push it through all the way, it's all or nothing here for Noble. They cap first and they're going to cap second really quickly, or they're going to fizzle out.
And it's really tough to handle so much momentum coming through when you're on the defensive team too. Even though you have spawn advantage, the amount of ult economy that a snowball team can potentially have is, I mean, it's almost nigh compatible occasionally.
Exactly. And wow, they did not spare any of the arcade machines there. Ripped to the Hanamura spawn room as Noble walking up, trying to set up a good teleporter from Nos here. This is going to allow Brawl to rotate through, but they actually use it on the top left side to then allow themselves access to points. And now Dice Gaming have to figure out how they want to contest.
Man, they have jumped on this point so fast. Amentus, the wall preventing anyone from Dice Gaming to enter from the front area of the point. They've got to go the long way around, and, well, pressure is still being applied. The point is being contested, so not a full amount of possession being capped already, but with the kill onto Big Floppa, that could be disaster for Noble. Cloudy's also gone down after taking a kill onto Ares, but that is not the trade you're looking for, as the Cash is just going to bowl through and help clean up.
Great target focus from Dice Gaming. You see that teleporter come out, it might overwhelm you a little bit, but they regroup, they figure out, okay, let's just leave a caution Ares on the objective to contest, not give up any ticks, and then they immediately remove Big Floppa. Not having that sustain in some of these extended engages means that the Brawl comp can't really outlast on the point anymore. So, quick reset coming through from Noble. That's one push of basically the 4 that they're allotted on first. They've got some decent defensives coming up. The Photon Barrier from Nos in particular is going to come in handy.
And can they dance around this photon barrier from Nos? The Immortality Field saves them once again from that pulse bomb, but there's still a couple of kills coming through on to Dice Gaming. The tanks are coming up massive though in response. They do not want to give up this space, and they continue to put the pressure on. We see Cyrus go ahead, dupe that Symmetra here. He's going to be looking to build his own barrier and try to keep that damage. Can he get charged up enough in time to charge the wall and deploy it in time? Doesn't entirely need it, as the fight is coming to more of a lull, and oh, what a closeout from Vega.
Bit of a problem for Dice Gaming, though. You layered your defensives. You used Transcendence and Rally together, and now with all of these aggressive ultimates, particularly Blizzard coming online for Aki, you're going to need one of those desperately by the time that Noble reaches the point. They did just sacrifice the Symmetra, so they have to walk the long way around this time. Can Pascal build Trank in time?
Oh man, and walking the long way is so difficult coming through.
They lost Beck.
Okay, self-destruct doesn't find anything there. That was probably not how Icy was wanting to use that self-destruct. It's tough, and well, now they're moving around towards the smaller room here. Nos getting up on the high ground. He's going to be a deadly threat, just peppering and bombarding from above, trying to put that pressure from another angle. Can Aki find the value? Blizzard is thrown. Who is going to be frozen? Not too many people yet. That trance coming in clutch from Pascal, keeping everyone topped off. But after it's gone, it's going to be more people following as Noble is getting aggressive and finding those kills. The freeze, is he going to do it? Oh, Bubbles saves him just at the moment. Beluga tried to extend his life more, but not going to be quite enough, Amentus.
I think he extended his life a little too long. Yeah, he's going to have to go careening off the edge there to reset. Beluga, later, buddy. He's got the fast respawn, though. Fortunately, he'll be up in time for this next engage. Shout out to Blizzard for patching that one in. Appreciate it, guys. Looks like Noble rotating through commonly the right side. This is where you're going to typically see a lot of Brawl comps push through. Dice Gaming are trying to set up a decent off angle into it. Ares flanking around. He's got the pulse bomb. Searching for Big Floppa, but in the meantime, Nos has gone main and he gets 2.
Wow! 2K with the Deadeye and the pulse bomb coming up. Everyone's been dropped super low, and it is clean up central for Noble after that. Cyrus did find the kill onto Big Floppa, so some sustainability off the board for them in these potential recontest moments here, as Dice Gaming is going to flood on to the point and try and stall this out as long as they can. Amentus, Cyrus dupes the Diva right there, but can he put any value in? No one can touch! What?
Okay. Icy's bomb previously was not used to great effect. That one just pushed everybody from Dice Gaming off the point, and they couldn't even touch. So, yeah, you win some and you lose some. That one was definitely a win for Icy, but the biggest win here was Nos with this high noon, catching 2 people out, opening the fight for his team. And when you get surprised like that, it's a 4v6, you're in full panic mode. Naturally, Dice Gaming is going to crumble under that pressure, unable to trade quickly enough for those respawns to come through. So, first point capture, or rather second, goes over to Noble with 3 minutes remaining. That's a hefty time bank.
I don't know if panic mode is descriptive enough to how much their heart was probably racing at the end.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. I mean, he also got the high noon through Big Floppa's Ant Matrix, which, I mean, that is icing on the cake as far as damage, and, you know, more props for Big Floppa, really letting his team utilize all the resources to their maximum value, which, I mean, we've been seeing some back and forth from both of them, but that particular offensive time, you know, Noble did a great job at just working together, handling the onslaught of damage as they were walking, and closing out.
And now on second point with this defense here, I'm expecting more of the same. They want to take it to Dice Gaming's backline once again. Vega and Pascal have to be on high alert, watching out for any of this spam coming through from Nas and Aki, as well as Icy coming through on that Diva, trying to assassinate some of these weaker members. It's really all about if Brawl can still play aggressive while not relinquishing too much control on the objective. And on the side of Dice Gaming, they want to take things slow. They need to charge up this Zarya before they really get this engage started, get some of these flankers in the proper positions, and set up a dive on somebody weak.
Akash already goes through, rolling on, got that bubble from Beluga, so helping him try to get charged up, but can't quite find any extra charge. They're doing a great job at not shooting him when he's popping those, and, well, there's the dynamite. Crispy right there, does manage to break it and keep them, well, frying up over at the middle of the Chocomintus. They're having a hard time breaking through.
That Tracer kill onto Ares at the beginning of that last push spelled doom for Dice, but now he's back. There's a full 6-man squad coming in from Dice, and they want to take it straight to Noble.
Oh, nice slam coming through once again from Akash. He has been constantly bubbled left and right from Beluga. That teamwork very, very apparent. Oh, she flies away just in time to avoid the dynamite, and Vega manages to fly to get the Pascal res. Dice Gaming is going to have even more resources on the line for them to try and push this attack. Aki's Blizzard doesn't find anything there as Beluga can just hop just out of the edge of it at the last moment. Wall is going to stall him out a bit, Amentus, but I don't know if that's going to be enough to prevent Dice from capping it.
Big Floppa drops that Amp Matrix, trying to salvage what's left of Noble on this objective, but it's just not going to be enough in the face of all of this respawn, all of this damage coming through from Dice. Vega even pops the Valken celebration as these remaining members of Noble finally start to go down. They stall for another extra 30 seconds or so, but in the end, it's just going to feed more and more ult charge over to Dice Gaming. Nice trade kill, though, on the Pascal. I'll give you credit there.
Yeah, it's a tough decision. You know, at what point do you stop stalling, and at what point are you feeding into their ult charge? And
Yeah,
I don't know,
yeah.
how do you make that call?
Well, it kind of depends. I think that one went long enough where Dice Gaming actually hadn't used a lot. So yes, if you feed over more ult charge while they already have it, it kind of just goes to nothing. They already are at 100%. So not the
Right.
worst play at the end of the day for Noble. Problem is, they don't really have a lot of ults online immediately. They're going to get some online soon, like this Bob from Nos to contest, but here come the mines from Akash.
Man, and those mines were in the thick of Noble's team right there. Nos does manage to find this side kill. Poor Akash wasn't there to back up Ares. Usually they're 2 peas in a pod, but he's dropping the mines on the other side, and, well, a little bit of regroup before this next push.
Yeah, we're seeing kind of a trend here. When Noble is able to shut out Ares on this Tracer, it's almost impossible for the remaining pieces of Dice to come through. And again, Nos with the opening pick onto Ares. How is Dice Gaming going to get through this Ash of Nos?
And and Nos also has the Bob online. So that's another person that they can throw into the thick of it. And I mean, Bob is an auto-aim turret coming through for a short time. It's so much pressure, and, well, the health bank alone is not always something you want to mow down and throw your resources at.
Ares needs to try to figure out a safer way into these engages, because right now Nos has just got his number. Right now, he is getting headshot after headshot, and in the meantime, everybody else on Noble wants to take it to the backline like we talked about. They're managing to kite away without having to commit any ults, and now Akash is standing on the objective trying to force somebody down. But that shatter from LH?
Oh man, that was a big shatter, and Icy's following suit. The tanks are absolutely destroying this lineup here, and with that icicle onto the Mercy, she had to give up so much space to try and stay alive.
I need a replay on that one if possible, observers. Can we get the LH Cloudy Shatter there? Because that was so clutch. It just caught everybody from Dice Gaming off guard. Jumping from the high ropes onto that balcony, getting 3 people down before Pascal could Transcendence, and that's going to end that fight instantly. Let's take a quick look at it once again from the third-person perspective. Yeah, once you get laid out like that, it's pretty much over.
They were hard laid out and taking a nice suntan while they wait. Right now, Dice Gaming, can they push forward? Wow, they just got so many people flooding this kill feed here. Noble is trying to hold strong, and well, it's kind of a rocky situation in this small alleyway for them. But the point is it's being flipped. The tides have turned. This duplicate from Cyrus onto the Mei could be exactly what they need. Dice Gaming is trying to push forward, but they've lost so many people in this process.
Wow. So they get those opening 3 picks, but at the same time, they just don't stand on the point, and in the meantime, through the Transcendence of Pascal, they lose Beluga. And now he has to swap over to D.Va for this last-minute contest. We're seeing a across-the-board swap for Dice Gaming. They have fully figured out that, yes, ball comp, probably not the play here on second point, because every time we try, we just can't stand on the point anymore. They finally mirror, but now this is going to allow Noble to abuse the fact that they've been on this comp for longer. They've got more ults, particularly LH Cloudy Shatter.
Oh man, and an LH Cloudy Shatter could be, it could shut you down before you even get the chance. This Doomfist coming out from Nos is a change of pace and gonna apply different amounts of pick potential pressure onto Dice Gaming. They're still engaging here on this high ground. The pick onto Cyrus is gonna be rough, and there's a lot of, they have to give space with that pick onto Cyrus.
Nice pick from Nos. I really like this Doomfist because the moment that you get a single trade kill and the Brawl comp coming in from Dice Gaming can't respond, you basically just have to give up instantly. You have to reset. If you don't have the full 6, you're going to struggle when you reach the point. And previously, it was the ults that opened things up for Dice Gaming, and now there are no ults on the field. Noble just wants to win.
That was just so mean. Wow, I feel so bad for those people that Icy keeps picking off left and right. They should drive straight into their face. You don't have a chance and you have no time to prepare.
That was without the shatter too, because before it was LH Cloudy Shatter. That one was just dry, and now they have to be really ready for it. Akash, head on a swivel, buddy. You have to be ready for that flank coming in on that top right side.
And that LH Cloudy is really showing his comfort pick on Reinhardt. It's obvious that he knows exactly how to jump around these corners, dropping his shatter from a different level altogether. Oh, flashbang into the window, catches Nos, but, just gonna be more of a sit right there for a moment, please type of flashbang. Can Dice Gaming push forward though? They're still holding out here on this side room. LH Cloudy goes down first, but so does Akash. Both tanks out of this lineup. Can Nos find this pick with his punch? Clock is ticking down, and overtime bar has been triggered. No one here on the point in sight. There it is. Ares finally able to touch, but is it going to be enough to hold strong? Noble's been reinforced by that sound barrier. They're going to try to continue to hold and hold defensively, but nothing comes up from that D.Va bomb. OT bar is going to trickle down, and that is another solid defense from Noble.
These defenses from Noble, man, these are the moments where it feels like Noble just knows exactly what they have to do. And it makes total sense. They're pivoting towards maps where, defensively speaking, the ball comp just can't get through. That's where Noble's building the advantage, as compared to Dice Gaming, who wants long fights. They want to take things in a very specific manner. They're targeting specific individuals on the side of Noble. But on this map of Hanamura, it's just not possible. Those flanks coming in from the Tracer of Dice Gaming were non-existent in the face of Nos's Ashe, because those headshots just take him out of the fight instantly. So when you don't have those pulse bombs online anymore, you're not able to pressure the objective as consistently. That comp just falls apart. And even when Dice Gaming mirrors and they get ults, Noble just beats them with experience.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Tracer flanks non-existent. Oh man, what an understatement coming through. And I mean, it feels bad. There's a reason my DPS is not the strongest, and sometimes you're supposed to be over here, putting the pressure, drawing fire, and you're getting headhunted left and right. And, there's only so much you can do. We saw a lot of the, Tracer Hammond duo coming through, following up on a lot of that damage and closing out the kills. But this time, it's kind of strung out to dry on this side a little bit. But Noble, Noble obviously coming back. This was their map pick, and they performed really well on it, Amintus.
Absolutely, and there's only one map left in the series. We're going to the deciding map 5 to figure out who gets the very first win of North America Contenders Trials for this month. But we're going to throw it to a quick break, so don't go anywhere, and we'll be right back.
Hey folks, and welcome back. We are here with the last and final match of our best of 3, seeing Dice Gaming go up against Noble. Mintus, this has been one barn burner of a match, back and forth, literally every single time. We're going into Lijiang Tower. What do you think we're going to see from these teams, or what are you expecting?
Well, so far, all my expectations have been subverted by both sides. I fully expected Dice Gaming to have a bit of an easier time on that ball comp on a lot of these maps, but Noble just proves me wrong with some heroic plays coming out from Nos and Icy, and even LH Cloudy. Over and over, when all the cards are on the table, it feels like Noble's ready to pick them up, and even on Lijiang Tower, where, again, ball comps with the dive have an easier time with things, we don't even know what to expect at this point. Maybe Noble just gets straight to the objective, doesn't even bother with a neutral fight, and starts to win through that. I think there's a lot of different avenues that Noble can explore if they continue to play that brawl comp, but Again, it's about whether Dice Gaming can adapt to the circumstances, whether they can figure out what Noble's trying to do specifically to shut them out.
I mean, that's a tough one always to do in, just the competitive nature of these Contenders trials. I'm sure you've had plenty of that on your plate over on the Wisp coaching side.
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, it's a lot of hours, a lot of less playing, which, unfortunately happens to some of our producers in the back scenes here. But with God. 2 and 2 coming up from Dice Gaming, and
Sorry about my camera.
Some abstract here coming through from Amentis.
Beautiful
definitely
stuff, yeah.
Given that colorful personality of you. But we've got 2-2 so far from both of these teams, and obviously they need to go the distance and show who is actually gonna be the team to have your eye on for these Contenders. Very evenly matched back and forth, and it is time to make or break it for them.
Absolutely, and as we load into Lijiang Tower, we can only imagine what's on the minds of these two teams, trying to make that first strike in trials, trying to be the ones that set the pace, set the tempo for everybody else around them. So far, it feels like Noble, when they get the opportunity to control the scenario, they have an easy time with it. But this, again, is Dice Gaming's map pick. They have chosen, it seems like we're actually going to Busan, one moment. We had a bit of a last-minute change-up coming in from these teams. And we also actually have a bit of a delay coming in from the players as well. So not going to load in just yet. They baited us. Sorry.
That's fair. With how back and forth these teams are, that is just the nature of esports. I mean, we could remake Katy Perry's Hot and Cold video with how many trades, or yes, this map, or maybe the other one instead. But looks like we are actually lining up, so we're not going to be juked out as much anymore going in.
Finally, Busan. So this is a bit of a different look from Lijiang. Obviously, ball comps are still playable here, but I think Brawl has a much easier time with it compared to Lijiang Tower. And that's interesting considering this was Dice Gaming's choice. So already coming out of the gates here with a very interesting strategy. Cyrus pivoting to the Soldier 76, trying to play distance, trying to rotate around the Brawl comp, but they're going straight towards it.
Soldier here putting in the damage. Does fall a little low, but healed up from his own health. LH Cloudy falls so low. Can he get punched to death? Not quite. Some of the heals were there, but he does get chipped away in the end. With the numbers in favor of Dice Gaming, they're going to look to capture this point.
Nice separation from Dice Gaming. They kind of absorb that aggression coming through from Noble, split up and run towards every direction, every which way. And even when you can focus out some of the individual members in that chaos, I think that does favor the ball comp because it forces Brawl to split, and you're not getting AoE heals from Big Floppa and Lep onto everybody in that mid-fight. So already we see a pivot coming in. Aki rotating over to the Torbjorn, looking to throw out that turret, maybe have a bit of an easier time in these brawls, using that armor boost and that increase in firepower once they reach the objective.
Oh, Cloudy has been discorded so long in this entire map, and it is a lot of damage that he's got directed at him, and he's trying to mitigate and take the pressure off. Noble's pushed onto the point. He almost captured it very quickly there, but the contest comes in just at the last minute from Akash. He's trying to find the value, but that noon, it just clipped him as he was trying to roll away. Flux is thrown as well to try and save it, but it is successful. Dice Gaming coming out on top of the kill feed and continuing to push Noble back.
Wow, I mean, I thought that was single-handedly in favor of Noble. Lep coming in with the boop onto Akash to secure the kill from Nasus High Noon, but it's just not enough in the face of the ultimates that Dice Gaming already built up. Beluga on the back end of that, coming in with the Gravitic Flux, able to punish the fact that no defensives were remaining on the side of Noble. And again, this is a talking point we've covered so many times already. Lep needs that beat to keep his team alive through some of this aggression. And now that he has it, Noble has to utilize it and actually push some of these individual members.
Oh, the pulse bomb. She's sharking. Nothing's found from the stick. Cyrus goes ahead, pops the visor in the back, and is just going to continue peppering the damage through. They're pushing Noble back and continuing to hold this point, but I don't think Noble's going to be able to get their traction. This Cyrus is just bombarding them constantly, and well, that's what you want from the soldier here. He just a constant pepper damage from this side, able to take care of himself. Noble's trying to save this here, but it is OT. They have to do everything they can to take the point. Cloudy goes down one after another. Nos is so low here, and OT bar is almost trickled down. There it is.
That was dominant. Yeah, Dice Gaming didn't lose control for a moment there. And even when Noble comes in with that sound barrier, gets an opening pick, it gets traded back almost immediately. And when you're retaking, you can't lose members. You need to have more to stand on that point to have a chance of even flipping it. And I mean, the problem with the Brawl comp on a map like that, all you have to do is look at LH Cloudy's ult charge. He didn't even build a Shatter. There was just nobody to swing on. Akash, Cyrus, Ares, those are the targets that are really in the sightlines of LH Cloudy, always playing out of his reach. And not being able to build up that Shatter is just indicative of how difficult it is to play Brawl into the ball dive there. But now we're pivoting towards Mecha Base, where it feels like Noble might have an easier time.
Mecha Base is considerably closer and narrower, and LH Cloudy is probably going to be excited, try to get some of that hammer action into the other team here. Noble, though, taking that high ground. They moved very quickly, not surprising, with Lep on the Lucio, still continuing to give his team that type of speed and support. This has been great for them, though. Look at that. They aggressed forward straight into the thick of Dice Gaming, and that was too much. They bit off way more than they could chew, Amintus, and paid a heavy price for it.
That slam from Akash on the backside of it just caught him totally unawares.
Yeah.
Getting that 6-man AoE damage down almost immediately, and Nos blows up in the face of it. So Dice Gaming with first control once again, and we've talked time and time before how important it is to win this first fight, because now Noble has to retake in a group, stack up, and that's exactly what killed them in the last fight.
It's tough when you're seeing history repeat itself a little bit. Vega falls very, very low, and Beluga gets caught out alone on the ice wall, does go ahead and fall. Now Noble can go ahead and move forward, aggress. Both supports in the corner. There's the reinforcements from the tank, but it's not going to be enough. Ares just absolutely popping off and holding this fight for his team, keeping them in it. Wow, Amintus Ares is carrying this fight.
Pascal was the matador there. He built up Transcendence right as Noble reaches his face, pops it, and you had already committed so deep, got the pick onto Beluga, but it all goes to nothing. That's just more wasted time now. And Dice Gaming at 50% and counting with all the tools in their back pocket to continue succeeding. This retake has to be so big from Noble. They need to capture now, or it's going to be nearly impossible.
I feel like we're in a Jaws movie every time we're watching Ares with a pulse bomb. Just who's going to be the victim? Who is unfortunate and unlucky enough to take the fall? Nos already gets an early pick onto Vega, opening up the option again for Noble to try and take space. The pulse bomb doesn't find anything in the back, and that's another big offensive resource off the table. Cyrus is throwing bullets from the high ground, auto aim from that attack visor, and that is so much pressure onto Noble once again. We're at 82%. This is the last match, and Noble has got to do something to break through.
They've got left sound barrier. On the last map, it wasn't enough. They actually want to keep going. They don't care that it looks bad for them. They get the bomb kill into Beluga. The trade with the beat as well to keep sustaining this. But Dice Gaming is not out of it yet.
Can I see remech? Oh, does get taken down just at the last moment. Big Floppa finds that kill, but the OT bar has been triggered. Noble is on the point. That pulse bomb onto LH Cloudy made him fall so low. They're trying to get the follow-up, and Cyrus does manage to finally do it. The point was flipped over into Noble for just a brief moment, but that flux coming up massive, taking so many people of Noble out of the equation. Now it is Dice Gaming capping the point, and they are going to take this last map here, Amintus.
The LH Cloudy just throws the Shatter in frustration on the floor as the point takes over. This is a 3-2 victory for Dice Gaming, and this is such a massive upset, such a clutch play from Beluga to close it out as well. I really did come into this thinking that Noble leverage that experience that they had in the past and use that to their advantage to win this, but at the end of the day, even when you win maps, you're going to eventually lose some, and that allows Dice Gaming to select a map that is just unplayable for Brawl. And at the end of the day, if you're going to one-trick a comp, you have to worry about these kinds of maps.
Yes, and I mean, I don't think you could have said it any cleaner than that. You have to worry about when you one-trick comp, and teams that do one-trick comps, that's that's not going to bring you all the way to that pro level they're looking for. And Noble totally showed us that they're here to play.
I feel like Dice Gaming there had a really good time when they got to select that map, like we talked about, defining the terms of engagement. And in a best of 5 series, you have to kind of expect at some point that you may lose a couple maps. You may drop.
Totally.
You don't always have to be playing perfect, and that's where Noble falters. Those brief moments where it feels like, okay, we had to give this one up just because there was no other option. And that is how that last map goes. It was such a wash for Dice Gaming. They barely dropped any percentage. And this is such a good look for them going into the rest of Trials.
Totally. And, I have to wonder about, Dice Gaming. We saw a lot of really great last-minute plays come through. Seems like those high stress, high pressure moments are when they thrive and shine. Pretty much their brightest, especially coming through on that last map. That was, we saw a lot of progression from map to map and who chose which one. But that last performance from Dice, I thought, was much, much stronger and with very good foundation.
Exactly. You set up those foundations and you can ride until the end of Trials. That's the goal. But
yeah.
We have an interview with the winning team. We're going to get Pascal in here very soon. We're going to throw to a break, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back with that interview.
Hi, folks, and welcome back to Contenders Trials North America. We have with us Pascal from Dice Gaming, the team you just saw in a very, very close match of 3-2 up against Noble. Pascal, congratulations on your win, and thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
How are you doing after coming off of those, off of your win, and, what's kind of the mindset of the team right now?
I think this is the match that I personally was most excited for.
Oh.
The team is pretty brand new. Some of us played in Open Division together, or been on teams in the past, but other than that, pretty brand new. We only got scrims like last week, so it's exciting for us to finally play our first match. And yeah, we kind of expected to do better, but it's okay, we'll clean it up the next days.
Totally. And is there a reason in particular you were looking forward to this matchup against Noble?
Yeah, so obviously they're my old teammates.
Oh yeah.
Who I enjoyed playing with very much back in the good old days of Rush. Obviously that's not what's meta anymore. As you can see, we did beat them. And I got to play some Zenyatta, which I was not able to play. I don't think I've played Zen in a Contenders match, actually.
And that's heartbreaking.
But hopefully I can one day. And so yeah, that's why I was most excited to play against them, just because we're friends. You know, it's always fun to be your friends.
Oh, absolutely it is. And, you know, it definitely raises that level of competitiveness and camaraderie when you're in the game. And, you know, did that give you an edge knowing some of these people?
Oh, for sure. I think it definitely helped playing with them before. I just knew when they were going to chase me down. They were, I think Cloudy is one of those Ryans that he's patient when he needs to be, but he can go from 0 to 100 really quickly. He's definitely unmatched in that.
Nice.
Oh yeah, so going into my questions, I wanted to first start off with your map selection. Something I noticed in the trends of the series were when you got the opportunity to define the terms of engagement, you almost always had an easy time with it. And what was that kind of strategy behind selecting maps where maybe Brawl struggled a little more than other places?
Yeah, I mean, Brawl just it's not good on every map. The maps they chose were the two that were good for Rush.
Right.
But like for Blizzard World, it's a really hard map, especially for them to attack because of how long the sightlines are. That's pretty much how it is for all the maps we picked. Like we wanted to pick open maps with long sightlines that made it difficult for Ryan to get to us. Because if the Ryan can't get to us, then we just win the game.
Of course, right? You just push away the Brawl comp, and it's you have an easy time with it. But so going into the rest of Trials, I was wondering, you talked about how this was supposed to be an easy match for you. Which are the teams that are not going to be easy? Who do you see as a big threat going into the rest of Trials?
The best team is probably Illinois State University. They have a lot of really good players, I would say. And then everyone else, I feel like, can beat each other. It's close. It's pretty close for the 5 other teams, but ISU is definitely number 1.
Gotcha. That competitiveness is something that I noted as well. It feels like this Trials is just very evenly stacked outside of ISU, and everybody is just kind of punching up and seeing who can compete with that team at the end of the day. And for my last question for you, is there anybody on the team that you want to shout out? Any staff members, your family?
Okay, yeah. I want to shout out Dusk. Dusk was on the team prior to this, and he's the one that sold the spot to Dice Gaming. And I really appreciate him doing that because he is no longer a player. I did not enjoy playing with him, and I very much enjoy playing with Beluga. And he gave Beluga an opportunity to play. This is Beluga's first time ever playing in Path to Pro.
Right.
So he gave the opportunity to him, and he's doing really well.
Absolutely. And, you know, I think it's pretty clear that you all did very well in that first round here. A couple of patchy moments, but all in all, you pulled in strong. And I gotta say, I am excited to see what you guys continue to bring to the table. And, I mean, best of luck to you, dude.
Thank you.
All right, folks. Well, wrapping up for this first section of our matches, we just saw Dice Gaming go up against Noble, with Dice coming out victorious in a 3-2 match. Mintus, it was close, but we still got one more in the bank coming up.
That's right. Our next match is going to be Avidity versus Drifters, and there's a lot on the line for these two basically brand new teams coming in, absorbing some of the previous slots occupied by teams that were unable to fit a full 6 roster in time. So it'll be very interesting to see which of those two is going to come out on top.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we'll have to see what they can bring to the table for our next round. We are going to kick it to a quick break until then, folks, so don't go anywhere. We'll see you for the next matchup. Hey folks, and welcome back to the North American Contenders Trials Day 1. Amintus and I are here to bring you the second match of the day. Of course, we just had quite a barn burner of one previously, going the distance of 3-2, all 5 maps. You think we're going to see that for the next one, Amintus?
You know, that is a good question. Avidity versus Drifters is going to be our next match, and honestly, coming into this, I think it is a little bit one-sided. I think Avidity has some more, I'd say, experienced with one another players. They've got this core built around the ashes of Obey Alliance with Eiko, Petal, and Matt Merck coming in. So that's the DPS and the main tank. Rounding it out with the Fishcake Renko backline, who are basically attached at the hip at this point. I don't think I've really ever seen them playing without one another too successfully. And then they also took Soko from me over at Wisp to round it out. So that's going to be their full starting 6. Problem is, they're missing 2 of those starting players. Matt Merck and Petal are not going to be here for this first match, so they've actually picked up another Wisp player in Jishwa and Seeker over from Noble to round out their starting 6 as subs. So not a lot of prep time coming in for this team. This was formed right around roster lock a week ago, and obviously Avidity, a team that actually has never really been at this level before. They've had tier 3 teams in the past, but no 6-man squads that have really come close to touching tier 2. This is their first mainstay roster that actually has reached this level, and they basically picked it up from the slot that they actually purchased. Or I think it was, no, actually, this is the one that they just took from Odyssey, and they just basically rolled it into Avidity. So this is not one of the purchase slots. Lots of teams did that this time around, so I lost track. But this org has been around in Tier 3 for some time now, and this is basically their first foray with a starting 6 that's actually looking pretty good.
And that means that they are going to be really trying to make a name for themselves and set a precedent going into this first round of Contenders Trials for them. A lot of eyes going to be, on Avidity. How are they going to match up? Drifters have been around in the scene for a bit. They're pretty well known as well. And, that could be intimidating, mentally going into a team and into this type of competition with these stakes. So I have to wonder what that mindset is and, how they're handling this type of pressure versus what they've experienced before in, some of the other tiers of Overwatch. Now, of course, with Drifters on the table, there's a lot of potential for them to continue to bring the heat, and they've done relatively well in the past. Had some upsets in OD though, which a little bit ouchy for them.
Yeah, actually, to expand on that, they got upset twice in OD because it is a double elimination bracket, and they were unable to make it. But they did manage to acquire the spot from GU and have now made it to Contenders Trials, and they are really hoping to prove that they deserve this spot. They've had this core of 4 players: Boat, Crimson, Ship, and Neptune. They've been around for about 3 months now, and then they recently picked up some new players, notably Chime and Chopper for their DPS. Chopper in particular, last year, if you remember, he was on the Dark Mode squad at Gauntlet that got 3rd place, and he was by far one of the biggest surprises that came out of that tournament, basically getting picked up out of nowhere and performing out of his mind on Ashe. I will never forget that performance for the rest of my life because it was that good. So hopefully he can channel some of that past success. I know it's been a while, but now he's finally on a starting spot with Drifters.
Yeah, even if we saw it had been a while for, who was it in our previous match it had been a while for? I
believe it was Rob Dab that was playing for Noble, actually. And he had just came off of a 2-year break, and he didn't actually look too bad. So maybe Chopper can have some similar success, even though there was a large gap.
That is exactly what I was thinking. And, fundamentals don't deteriorate. And, as long as you've stayed in practice and the communication is there, they could perform really, really well. I am concerned about, some of the subs coming through from Avidity. Looks like you Wisp folks over there are so generous, giving subs and, helping people when, there's not everyone can make it at all the times. It's tough in the middle of the day, but I gotta wonder if the synergy or maybe lack of could come back to bite Avidity.
Well, to be honest, a lot of these players know each other very well. Obviously, Jishwa and Soko were on Wisp in the past. Renko and Petal have been, or rather, Renko and Fishcake have been teaming together for a very long time now. And obviously, the DPS coming in, they've been together in the past as well from Obey Alliance. again, it's really just about, like you talked about, whether these subs from Avidity are going to properly fill the shoes of some of these more dominant players that are missing, particularly Matt Merck. And I really do want to focus on this main tank role because it's very important that Joshua is able to lead his team effectively. And if he's not, a lot of these players are going to be looking like headless chickens running around without direction. And at the end of the day, Drifters, that's where they have the advantage. They have experience together. They've been working on things for months now. That is where they have the lead over Avidity, and they need to leverage that if they want to win big.
And with so much experience with each other, like you said, there's going to be a lot of anticipation, meaning, they don't need to be told that their teammate is going to charge in. They know from their play style aggressively, oh yeah, that's an opportunity they're going to want to capitalize on, and we need to be there to reinforce and move right along. Now, we are going to go into our first map of Nepal. So where do you think team comp-wise we're, going to be seeing come through? Or what's one of their comfort picks?
That is a good question. I'm not exactly sure. There is a huge variety of comps that you can play here.
Right.
And all three submaps of Nepal have their strengths and weaknesses for certain comps. And at the end of the day, I think it's just about what teams feel comfortable with. So on the side of Drifters, they've had a lot of success in the past on Double Shield and Rush. I think those are the two metas that they have had the easiest time with, and those are the metas where they actually got into Tier 2 on their own merit. This time around, though, the meta has shifted a lot. I think we're going to see a lot more of maybe potentially dive comps with Ball. I've already seen a couple teams running it previously. And obviously, a lot of these maps, while you can play a lot of different compositions, there are objectively just some better ones compared to others. And on a lot of the submaps of Nepal in particular, I think dive is going to be a lot easier to play. And I'm looking at Avidity to take the torch there and start running with it.
Exactly. And if they can actually run with it, well, we might see Drifters having a bit of a repeat from Open Division. Obviously, they do not want to have that. They want to set the tone for themselves and, well, pretty much show us that they deserve to be here regardless of how they got into this tournament. We've seen strong performances, and no one is going to complain or say any opposition if you can show that you are solid. And if you win uncontested, no one's going to question that you belong here. And with Drifters, I think that they should be looking to establish themselves as that force.
I think so as well. This is their opportunity to make their mark in trials and prove that, hey, even though we just got put together last minute, even though a couple of players might not be in the starting roster just yet, and actually to correct my previous statement, Joshua is the starter over Matt Merck, at least for the time being. So maybe there is still that synergy there. I think obviously the synergies between a lot of these duos is going to be where Avidity has a lot of their strengths. Right now, though, there is one core piece of a duo missing. Eiko is fighting a losing battle in the restroom, so we're going to have to throw it to a quick break. Don't go anywhere, and we'll be right back.
Hey folks, and welcome back. We are here once again with our Drifters versus Avidity match coming up. Had a little bit of trouble hopping into the lobby, but seems like we've, purged our systems of what needed to happen, and we're getting ready to load in.
That's probably the most apt way you could have put it. We're going to be loading into our first map of Nepal, just to kind of reiterate on some of the rules surrounding Contenders Trials. Each match day starts with every team playing the same map. No opportunity to choose. It's always going to be control first. And today's first week goes to Nepal for the start. And lots of preconceived notions coming into this match for me personally. I think Avidity probably is going to have that upper hand if we see a dive mirror, if we see a comp mismatch where Avidity has dive. But if the double shield of Drifters does come out at some point, you got to be very worried if you're Avidity. They have a lot of experience on that composition across many maps, across many months of playing the game together. And that's what really matters in that comp, having synergy, having the ability to see things where other teams might not necessarily see them. You get that communication, that information spread around the team, and that's where that synergy really comes in handy.
And that's what needs to happen if they're actually going to capitalize and take advantage of those openings and chinks in the armor of the other team. If they're not wedging themselves in and being decisive when they need to, we're going to see some sloppy fights. We'll see some long and, back and forths of picks here and there, but I'm really hoping to see some crisp, good fundamentals of Overwatch and, really focus fire on who is caught out. And when fights end quickly and decisively, you can tell that the communication is spot on because everybody is focus firing and the target's getting melted.
That is the goal. You want to kill people. I think that is kind of the main objective of Overwatch. Get some kills, stand on some points, win some maps. At the end of the day, there's really not much else to it. So both of these teams loading into Nepal now. We're first going to Village. So this is going to be something where I think Double Shield is going to have a pretty easy time if they try to go towards that. You have an easy time setting up on the objective. You have a lot of defensive resources that you can use to stay on that objective and actually capture it first. But again, it's kind of a toss-up at the end of the day and seeing what these two teams feel the most comfortable with coming out of the gates.
Oh, and okay, momentary pause, and we're back in the game then. All right.
That was the shortest one I've ever seen.
Well, I wasn't sure if we needed another, bathroom check.
Yeah.
Wasn't quite done. A couple more pounds to lose there, but we've got Renko and Petal on the Ana Mercy, at least showing for now. That could be so much damage coming out from Seeker.
Absolutely. With that full pocket coming in from Petal on Mercy, interesting there, and Renko coming in with Ana, going to deliver those nano boosts directly to Seeker. It really is about how the rest of the pieces of that comp deal with what Drifters throw at them. You're going to see Chopper coming in on this Torbjorn, and that turret is going to be a thorn in the side of Echo on this Tracer. They have to effectively remove a lot of these extraneous pieces of the double shield comp, which, by the way, is actually playing with a D.Va here. Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah, indeed. Seeker's already taken out of the picture, and Petal follows suit. There is no way that Avidity was ready for that to be the opening pop shots coming through, and they can just cap it. No problems.
I mean, I wasn't even ready for that. I don't think anybody was. It just flies up and disappears. It's like magic. On this retake, Seeker's going to have to be a little bit more careful with it because Boat is very accurate with this Peacekeeper, trying to keep that Pharah on the ground. Renko only at 34% on that nano boost as well, charging it up a little bit too slowly. Oops, coming through. Drifters are very secure on this high ground with point control.
Boat is able to chip Seeker at least 2 shots before Seeker can even dip out of the way. Renko, though, is the person that manages to find the kill way back onto him. He does pay for it with his life. There's more follow-up coming through, and with the back and forthness of both of this, Avidity is going to look to try to continue to aggress forward. They've almost captured the point, but can they move forward? The turret's putting in the pressure. It's been taken down, and you said that was going to be a thorn in his side, and he has taken it out.
It's too late, though. They lost their Mercy. They've been effectively wing clipped, and Seeker cannot stay pocketed in the skies anymore, so they're going to have to reset. That's 45% and counting now for the Drifters. And I love the way that they're holding this. They start on this platform to force out a lot of what Avidity wants to do early, and then they just drop right down onto people they feel they can kill. But Boat's gone already. That's 2 direct hits from Seeker.
Wow, and a little bit of payback coming through. Seeker jumps all the way across the map using that concussion and continues to throw the damage in. Damage boosted rocket barrage. Gonna be a big ouchie for both sides, including Seeker. He's brought back just as quick from Petal though.
And now I think Avidity are going to be a lot more comfortable with control here because when you're playing this this bunker composition from Drifters, retaking is not effective. It's not part of your game plan. You want to hold for the entire duration. But how do you get past all of this initial threat, the nades, the pulse bombs, the spam from Seeker?
What a big drop coming through. He just jumped right over the top. Does go down in the end after Ant Matrix and Sound Barrier have been popped by Drifters. Drifters still trying to aggress forward here, but Avidity's holding the high ground. The boulder comes through. Aiko's coming up big, and Drifters is going to get sent back to start.
It's going to take a while for them to get out of here, too. Crimson even staggering himself by grabbing the Mega, prolonging his death a little bit. Actually able to get out, but it gives Soko this gravitic flex. And you just saw Neptune's beat trying to facilitate that aggressive push from the Drifters. They're going to be sorely missing it because they can actually die in mid-air here. The lamp from Big Mouth is not going to be enough consistently, and especially when Seeker can't miss the rockets.
Oh my god. And I mean, an opening pick coming through is absolutely devastating onto Neptune. That's no speed and, well, a little bit of heals off the board, but it's really that mobility that's going to be crushing.
Exactly. Now Drifters have to fully rethink how they're taking this attack, but with this bomb from Ship and a lot of other tools that can push away this Pharah, they have a decent chance. This Flux is coming through. It's going to force out this lamp.
High Noon didn't find anything, even though he was lifted quite high from the flux. They were able to kite out of the damage. More coming through. Even though Drifters pops their Amp Matrix here inside of the point, they're continuing to hold it. It's been flipped back over into their possession now, both around 78%. A good rocket from the edge here coming through from Seeker. Neptune gets taken down once again, but the point is still in favor of Drifters. The Immortality Field stalls it for a moment, but Seeker does go down in the end. A lot of damage came through, but 90%, and it's got to be a quick recontest if they're gonna.
Into the ults of Chopper and Ship as well. That's two space controlling tools that'll make it very hard to stand on this objective. Joshua is the one to touch and remove this turret to open things up for Aiko, but this ult from Chopper makes it so hard to stand here.
You can't even stand near the point. You can barely get on it without burning alive. Avidity is doing their best to just trickle on and flood and try and keep this point alive, but the turret's been set up in the corner. That's going to be so much additional damage. He's trying to kite away from it. Gets a nice little fadeaway rocket there, but can't quite take it out. The OT bar has been almost triggered down, but Drifters using that sound barrier to reinforce themselves, prolonging this fight even longer. Seeker is out. Oh, I thought Seeker was going to touch and just missed it.
Val coming in from Petal. Barely unable to contest in time. And again, it's those space controlling ultimates win the double shield comp, or rather just the bunker comp. There are no second shields here. It's just Diva. But really, once you get full map control, retaking is difficult. You have to rely on getting those opening picks and building numbers that allows you to rotate. And it's kind of inconsistent with Seeker. His Pharah is very capable. He opened up a lot of those fights, but beyond the first moments, it was sorely missing. The barrages were just not hitting like they needed to. Sure, they got a couple kills, but it wasn't enough to fully end the fight. And that's what you need at the end of the day. You need to wipe the enemy team to have a chance at flipping.
Doors are about to open up, and well, we'll wait until they've made all their final comp changes. Looks like Aiko is going to be matching on that Torbjorn as well. So, you know, trying to see what else he can bring in response to that duel. Shields are set up on the point, and well, taken down. Seeker's the first person to go down from Chopper. Not sure where that clipped him on the side, but that has just opened up the door for Drifters to take down Avidity. They're having to kite back, give space, and throw every shield they can to keep themselves alive.
Seeker will return, so Avidity will be redoubled in this next push. They haven't disengaged just yet. We've got the window coming online from Renko. A bit of an off angle from Soko as well. There's a lot of attacks on different fronts, but nothing's landing.
Flashbang straight into that 4-5 there. Amp Matrix is going to be tough for Avidity to push up on this left-hand side as Drifters have it on lock. Avidity opts for the main hallway instead, popping their own Amp Matrix. Shredded in the back line by McCree, and that flash bang one after another. It's not going to matter though. Drifters are still continuing to hold this point. They've been given the sound barrier, and Amintus, they are just ripping through Avidity.
You're so right, Waffles. They're just ripping and tearing right through Avidity. There's nowhere that they can hide anymore. 35% and counting. And again, this is what we talked about. The experience for Drifters was where they had the advantage, and they've already forced the mirror in a composition that you can tell. It feels like nobody on Avidity has ever played this before. There's just zero synergy. They don't really know how to win these fights, whereas it seems like Drifters has their number. They get the opening picks, they get the right ultimates in the right spots, and now with full control, they can utilize it to full advantage.
Yeah, I felt like a little awkwardness with the Sigma earlier too, and with Boat on this McCree here on the side, just free firing. What? You gotta put pressure on him and shut him down. The high noon from Seeker is gonna be zoning, and Boat responds with his own. Doesn't find anything. Ant Matrix pop just afterwards, gonna allow him to free fire so much damage through that.
It seemed like Eiko did not get the memo with rotating away there. Ends up getting caught out on the other side of the Mega. And a late stagger on Sissoko as well. That is going to be brutal. You have to... Oh, okay, they end up giving him the sweet release of death. Much appreciated. Because with 90% remaining, you're going to need that Diva in overtime. Especially into, again, these space-controlling ultimates from Drifters. It's Deja Vu, the Tor, the Diva. It's going to be so hard to stand once again.
Wow, that was a big jump coming through. Seeker comes from across the map. CC'd to death right there. Not a chance after the flashbang, and now their Avidity is going to do everything they can to keep themselves in this fight. Joshua is trying to hold strong, but peppering from all angles is going to take him down. Drifters handling Avidity as they trickle in one by one. With the sound barrier of Mintus, that's going to seal the deal and give them a very strong finish here on this first map.
The mind games from Drifters there. They come out on a full counter composition, expecting the dive from Avidity. They absolutely demolish it, it feels like. Only Seeker was the one able to open things up consistently. And that is already a very inconsistent hero to open things up with. Afara is not landing all the direct rockets all the time. You're going to have a difficult time with it. And then on the second submap, they force the mirror. And again, that's where the experience and the coaching for Drifters is really going to come in handy. They know how to play the mirror because they've been playing it this entire time for the past few months now. So right now, it feels like Drifters, at the very least in the early stages of this series, are leveraging that experience together and using it to get an early advantage.
And they look very comfortable doing it. It seems like they are not scattered around. There's a lot of follow-up, and you know, there's not a lot of scrappy fights along the edges as far as one-on-one duels going longer than they need to, and roping in unnecessary like healing resources to keep them in the fight for the team fight. But you know, I've got to wonder if Avidity, you know, what they can be doing to change their attack against Drifters. Drifters was so comfortable that whole time, just kind of like, hey, come walk into the jaws of my trap. Happy to have you.
Well, if you think about the strengths of the composition that Drifters was running, it's very multi-tooled. You have a lot of different ways to take fights. Obviously, when you think about Double Shield, you think static, you think want to play in the same spot, but that's not what Drifters did. They pushed people, they chased after people, and that really caught Avidity off guard. So that flexibility is what I think Drifters is using the most effectively. And the thing about being flexible in Overwatch is if you're good at everything, you're not the best at something. And I think that's where Avidity can find some kind of strength. Pick a map that favors one type of composition extremely well. Maybe it's something that just, you know, Rush is the only way to play. Maybe Double Shield is the only way to play, or Dive.
Right.
And that's where Avidity is going to really have an easier time with it, because on an individual level, when you're mirroring and the compositions are tooled towards individuals performing, that's where Avidity can find that upper hand.
Well, you know, jack of all trades, master of none. Avidity is going to have a lot of pressure on those individuals to pretty much bring value and win those duels, win those one-on-ones, and hopefully don't get clipped, you know, coming through when you're trying to pepper like we saw in our previous match. Some headhunting coming through, and it is so tough for those DPS to avoid those types of situations. We're going to be going over to Numbani. So it's our first time coming up on this hybrid map here for our North American trials. I'm curious to see what type of comps we're going to see, like continue to see. Obviously a lot of high ground, typically more favored for a more mobile comp on Numbani.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Dive is definitely a great starting choice here. at least on first point, if you're defending, you can hold high grounds for a very long amount of time because off angles take forever to set up on the first point of Numbani. You're going to have to basically walk around the entire perimeter of the objective just to reach somebody playing on that high ground. So I'm probably going to expect to see some dive at some point. But again, it's not impossible to run the composition that we saw, the bunker comp from Drifters. I think it's still very doable if you want to go for something a little bit more static, play those objectives. It's still going to be not the worst time in the world. So a bit of a head scratcher coming in from Avidity here to select this map. They have to be feeling very confident in something that they think can hard counter what Drifters has been throwing at them.
Totally. And I think Avidity did a good job at giving some space to Drifters when Drifters was popping like Ant Matrix and a lot of, heavy fire, heavy damage potential ultimates and resources. But, once you've given that space and you opt to go around the other way, it was kind of a rock and a hard place for them. They dropped out of one Ant Matrix straight into a high noon. And so, I'm looking to see how Avidity is going to be able to continue to give this space, but actually find the value afterwards. They're good at avoiding the damage, but you still got to play offense. You can't just play kite and defense.
Yeah, unfortunately, when you're attacking an objective, the best offense is not a good defense. A lot of the time, you actually want to go too deep to make it a little bit easier on yourself. And we're going to start to get a good look at what these teams are running. It's going to be Drifters starting on the defending side with Avidity attacking. So Avidity has the chance to scout and sort of tool their composition to whatever the unique thing that Drifters sets up. And again, it's going to be that Torb Kree bunker that we have already seen play to great effect from them.
Oh man, and with the Torb on the table, that was a lot of side damage and just flank potential reduced because of the turret and because of, the detection from the turret. That is also a benefit. It lets you know, hey, someone's behind you. Let's make sure we keep tabs.
I think one of the underrated aspects of that ability is it forces you to pump resources into your flankers when you might not necessarily want to. You saw Eiko on that Tracer struggling to deal with that turret because he did not get the right amount of resources from a Zenyatta or a Brigitte that you would typically see pumped into your Tracer. And it's forcing it out. And that's kind of where Drifters had an easier time countering that Tracer. But now we've got an Echo in the sky for Eiko, pocketed by Petal once again. The double shield comp coming out, Joshua and Soko trying to provide enough defense for Avidity to walk through.
Well, you talked about Drifters being comfortable on that double shield and showing some really strong performances on it. It's already paying off. Seeker's got a big pick, but that was like a 4-man stun just there. I don't know what happened going through, but they are continuing to aggress forward here.
That was a big stun. And even with Eiko getting a Draco onto Neptune, that's not the core component of Drifters. They do not really care if they lose their Brigitte. So they're going to be able to stay on this high ground for just a little bit longer. Res comes in to Joshua though, so this attack is going to come right back.
Oh man, continuing to hold this high ground here. Can Drifters, they just rebounded Avidity, no problems.
They dropped the window, and so obviously Avidity wants to kite that, but here comes more stuns in this tight room.
Oh, and a tight room with Drifters is not a good idea. They're still moving forward. The Flux comes through, finds one kill onto Neptune. That could be an opportunity for Avidity to continue moving forward and aggressing and take space. The point, or the turret gets thrown at the last minute, but Chopper does go down. Joshua is continuing to aggress forward. He just presses W. Now he gets to shoot through the Ant Matrix on top of it and do even more damage.
So back and forth, both of these teams not ready to relinquish this first objective, but at the end of the day, it's going to favor Avidity, who come right back in with such a nasty flank on Orisa, not something you really see every day. And it's a result of that aggression from Drifters getting punished. They just go a little bit too deep, and now they are really stuck out in a bad place. A lot of members going to get staggered out here. It's too late to contest the objective, guys. They already got it.
With that final clear out, Avidity is going to be looking really pretty with that time bank as well. 4:30 on the clock to roll all the way to the second point. And, I'm curious to see how they're going to continue combating Drifters once they're set up. Eiko on that Echo is going to be so much mobility for them to just attack at different angles and put the pressure on.
Yeah, exactly. But now it's about setting up your shields for success. Joshua and Soko need to find a place they feel comfortable with, expecting some aggressive ultimates coming in from Drifters. We've seen Ship's bombs in the past. We've seen Chopper dropping that Torb ultimate, making it so difficult. And now a copy coming in from Mako on the off angle.
Chopper throws that molten core as well. The point is deadly to approach unless you want to get burned. They're continuing to try and keep this fight alive here as Avidity has thrown two superchargers out, one from Eiko, one from Joshua. It's not enough though. Chopper and Boat come up big as the DPS from Drifters, and they've just cleared Avidity out.
Well, instead he wins the race there. Crimson just puts his second, but this fight is not over. Avidity has close spawns, and they just got to pick onto Neptune. Any additional kills here is going to go a long way towards breaking the second point hold.
Oh, and more coming through from Drifters on top of it. They are still relentless in their assault, and, well, they're going to want to try and keep this space as much as they can.
Problem is they lost Chopper and Neptune. Neptune is swapping over to Lucio to get back quickly, so this is a hero that we've already seen him on previously, had a decent time with it, so obviously not the worst swap in the world just to come back for a contest, but Avidity's 6 people strong, and they're walking back towards main, and they have this flex. That was the key to unlocking first point. Can they force out this lamp from Big Mouth and do it again?
A lot of eyes here on a Big Mouth. Immortality Field is committed early. Is it going to be broken? Broken in time for Boat to die from the flux. You called it there, a Mintus, and now the Ant Matrix has been popped. Avidity is going to free fire through it here, but can they hold it? There's still more kills coming through. They're managing to stay strong and keep this point just from being capped at the last minute.
It feels like Drifters have a very good understanding of plan B. If things go wrong poorly, if our initial strike doesn't hit, they have a good counterattack prepared. With Boat swapping over to this Ashe, that is just further solidified. Bob is a great tool to have a second chance at contesting the objective, coming back in on second. And the more time you burn on this point, which has typically just been a wash for most attacking teams in the past, the better you're setting yourself up for them.
No one wants more time on the clock for their enemy. That Ant Matrix in the back enabled Seeker to just throw the damage and get the kills. Man, with the switch over to Hanzo, the pick potential is absolutely massive. He does get taken down in the end, but the damage has been done to Mintus.
That was pretty disgusting, but also we have to look at that push coming in from Drifters into an Ant Matrix, maybe not the best choice, and that's going to mean second point goes over. And again, this is the adaptation coming in from Avidity. They recognize the weakness of the shields, and they fully focus in on that. With Seeker swapping to Hanzo, they're destroying this Orisa shield consistently.
Superchargers opening up the fight for Avidity. They've paired it with Petals, Valk, and everyone's going to be topped off and feeling strong, trying to engage and get aggressive. Self-destruct is thrown over the top from Ship, only finds Eiko on that duplicate form, and Eiko does have to revert, falls so low. Finally topped off just a dash, but not going to be enough for him to engage quite yet. A couple stuns onto the tanks, and Soko's actually the one coming out on top. Kills Chopper with the accretion, and now Avidity's still trying to capitalize on this aggression. Oh, that tore through him. Drifters lived through some of it with that sound barrier Mintus, but the Immortality Field has already been committed, and Avidity is rolling forward.
That's 2 fights in a row now where Drifters just go a little bit too far. They feel like they have so much of an advantage, but it's all for naught because Avidity was ready. They push right back with all those aggressive tools, the Dragon Strike, and now with this Hanzo, it's going to be so difficult to recontest.
Crimson was just annihilated by Seeker right there, especially with the Ant Matrix popped in tandem with it. High Noon popped in the background, shut down by Soko right there. Everyone saw him coming and trying to flank around. Flux comes through, manages to grab that Diva, and now she's out of the mech. Petal goes down in the madness, but can Avidity continue to push strong? Even though they've lost a healer, they're still managing the people trickling out of spawn from Drifters, but it is a tough fight. It is a long one, and they are going to be able to cap this third point here at the end with 1:24 left on the clock.
Soko flicking around wildly to secure the last couple of kills in overtime. And this is Avidity making those adaptations mid-series. We talked a little bit about how green they are, how they haven't had a lot of experience together just yet. And this is their first real official playing a 6 with some of these extra pieces coming in from other teams, particularly Seeker on that hit scan roll. Or I guess at this point you could call him a flex DPS. He's been playing Pharah and Hanzo. So Roles don't define Seeker, is what I'll say there. But nonetheless, I feel like Avidity is using this first time playing together in Trials as the opportunity to build. They don't necessarily care too much about the results just yet. This is their time to start working on synergy, to start thinking about, okay, this is what my team is capable of. This is what we're good at. This is what we're bad at. Not necessarily trying for the win just yet. And already they're making leaps and bounds. They've found a consistent strategy that deals with what Drifters has had a lot of success on.
And Avidity does not look nearly as panicked or flustered as they did in that first control map. They seem to be, have their grounds as to where they want to attack, how they're wanting to engage with that double shield like you were talking about, and not just let Drifters shoot at them as they walk into their maw, and this is their maw essentially.
Yeah.
They were actually combating against them and handling that aggression.
Absolutely. And that swap onto Hanzo from Seeker started that snowball that got Avidity rolling through second point and all the way through third, and he's on it once again. Chopper's hopping over to Genji. So Eiko being on the Torbjorn, that turret is going to be a deterrent to the off angles, but I think the goal here for Drifters is to take a good close range engage, have a lot of burst potential with Chopper dashing through in a right click, but it seems like everybody on Avidity is giving up this high ground anyways.
Okay, a little bit of backing up. Another huge stun comes through. Holy smokes. That's like the third. That was a big flashbang coming up. Crimson gets a kill onto Renko as Drifters are just slicing and dicing through Avidity. That dash was so deadly.
Chopper making sashimi of him here. But yeah, like you talked about, that stun coming in from boat, once again, punishes everybody on Avidity. Even Joshua, who has CC immunity, just gets caught completely off guard by it. And this is where those moments of aggression for Drifters actually come in handy, when you catch people by surprise. But if Avidity can start to preempt this and expect this, it doesn't necessarily find as much success like we saw in Avidity's attack. But there's 5.5 minutes now for Drifters, and after that first fight win, they've got the ult advantage.
I'm still impressed with Boat's 3 and 4 man flashbangs coming up. Oh, nice reaction time from Joshua, though. The reinforce comes just before the accretion smacks him in the face. Has no effect after that. And, well, now the Ant Matrix has been popped by Drifters. Drifters is going to be taking this space, and Avidity just decides they don't want any part of this Ant Matrix.
Yeah, they want to run, but they've actually flipped the map now. They've taken the opposite angle from Drifters, playing in their own spawn. Can Avidity make this work?
High noon thrown by Boat, but the Flux is also being committed in response. Avidity is coming out on top with them filling the kill feed here, and, well, Drifters is all in spawn.
I love the way that Avidity plays that. Not only do they kite away from that aggressive ultimate commit, Big Mouth's window basically goes to waste, but then Avidity takes the advantageous position by flipping the map. And at the end of the day, I don't think there was anything Drifters could have done about that except preempt it, which is basically impossible without a Honda to scout it. So now on this next fight, they're really relying on Chopper to open things up with this blade. But Petal almost has that rally online, which is going to make it very hard.
Nothing there to reinforce the blade other than maybe this rally or an immortality field if needed, but Chopper's gonna have to make this work happen on his own. High noon from Seeker doesn't find anything yet, and still moving the payload right along. Drifters trying to find that opportunity to open up the fight. We're still sitting on this Dragon Blade, but pushing into a supercharger of Joshua is not something he's going to want to do, Amintus.
They're just kiting away. This is more time bought for Avidity to get those defensives online. Petal has yet to build a single percentage of Inspire, or single percentage of Rally through Inspire on his own. Now at 90%, Drifters recognize that they're going in deep.
Oh, Crimson goes ahead, snakes around from behind, and, well, we've done another side swap.
Oh, they kill him!
In a small room, and they kill him? Oh, man, I thought he was going to be slicing people up left and right in there, but it looks like Drifters are coming up big in this open area of the streets. They're taking down the last couple people of Avidity, still trying to push this payload here, but, oh, this Rally and Ant Matrix double support ultimates committed here in the back line. They are not enough to keep Avidity alive in this fight, and they are going down.
They're going to be sorely missing those, especially with Chopper swapping back over to the Torbjorn. We're in a scenario where as we push through third point, space controlling ultimates are really key to capturing, and you're not going to have that rally to help you stand in the lava anymore, or the window to help push some of these members back. Chopper getting a little bit too far up there, so 5v6 going into the rest of this, and I think that's going to allow Avidity to walk up on this corner and get set up for a good fight.
and that's going to be really nice for them considering, double shield is somewhere you want to be more set up on, but they're, avoiding that high noon damage. No need to take that, just walk away. Now they throw their own high noon in response. Good thing that grass was there just in time,
Flux
saved himself from the high noon. Flux comes up big. Soko finding the kill there onto his counterpart of the other Sigma, and Drifters sent back to start once again.
Avidity is having a lot of consistency in fights where they can force out this lamp from Big Mouth. And the only X factor remaining defensively is Neptune's rally, and now that he has it online, they're going to have a much easier time into aggressive ultimates, but you just have nothing in the face of Soko's Gravitic Flux here. There's pretty much no way to survive through it because you had to use it previously in the face of Seeker's High Noon, so it seems like Drifter's going back to the drawing board, trying to figure out a better rotation. They're taking the full high ground side, maybe trying to flip the map, similar to how Avidity did it.
Yeah, and Drifters also have flipped the map in their own way a couple of times in this one, but now they're moving up this main one. Ant Matrix is going to be the opening ultimate here. Oh, this Molten Core in response is going to make it tough. There's only a narrow alleyway for Drifters to push up around it, and the Flux coming through isn't going to find too much. Oh, another couple big picks coming in, and that is Drifters knocking down the gates of Avidity's defense and rolling this payload even farther forward, just over here at the end, and there wasn't even that much of a contest at the end.
They just burnt everything from Avidity on that first engage. It felt like Avidity panicked. They see that window come out. They see the aggression from Drifters, and this time they are not prepared for it. They commit a little bit too much at the beginning, and that is when the Flux comes in from ship. It punishes all those early resources committed by Avidity, and that allows Drifters to walk it in for free, essentially, getting a full minute ahead in the time bank here. So they're going to be very happy about that one going into this next portion of Numbani, where we get to see a little bit of a replay here. Maybe Avidity tries to change something up compositionally speaking, because in the mirror there when Seeker was off the Hanzo, did not look very comfortable.
Yeah, I agree about when he was off the Hanzo. And I mean, you called it in the first round. Seeker switching over to Hanzo was the momentum change and turning point Avidity needed to take the point, all three objectives. And, I gotta say there's a lot of pressure on Seeker to perform well on that front. He's back on that McCree and wasn't getting as much value, especially when you compare Boat's flashbangs onto Avidity this map, though, have been so nasty. I mean, my jaw drops every time.
I think the bigger thing to focus on in terms of individual performance here is that Petal, the hit scan starter for Avidity, is still playing main support here. Like, they don't even have a real main support playing the game. And still, it's still looking pretty competitive on this map. So Avidity kind of using this opportunity to test the waters maybe a little bit. And again, I'm really curious to see if Petal continues to get exposed.
Skirmish is happening here on the high ground. Everyone is up in each other's faces. Boat takes down his counterpart first, but it's not going to be enough to continue stopping this fight. There it is, everyone getting sweeped, and 53 seconds left.
Yeah, honestly, the brawl swap coming in from Avidity, it's too front-loaded. Like we talked about, Drifters already has a good plan B. They know how to kite. They know how to get away from that initial aggression. And Jishwa, taken out so low, means he has to hold up shield, which then allows everybody from Drifters to surround the brawl team and really corral them back into the corner and execute them. And now with 30 seconds remaining, they're only hoping on a hope and a prayer with the shatter.
Avidity has to leave it all on the table here. They're trying to be aggressive and just push forward through Drifters. Huge picks coming up from Seeker. He's making hero plays for the team right now. It's going to be an opportunity for them to come through and capitalize it. Joshua went off the edge, but Avidity has so many people on the point, Amentus, and they're capping it.
Maybe the plan for Avidity is to remove the opportunity to get to plan B. Just blow it open immediately, not even allow them to counterpunch. Problem is, you had to use 2 attacks to push it to get to this point here, and now you're stuck in overtime. So really, this is just about how far you can get it. And that's why I really like this adaptation for Mako to go towards Mei. You're going to get that Blizzard to prevent a contest coming in, but that's only going to be a little bit of extra percentage because Ship has this Gravitic Flux. That's going to lift everybody off the objective. So somebody needs to stay behind to prevent the Signa.
Oh, here's the Flux. Who is going to be lifted? someone zooms on right at the last moment. Soko there to save the day and the OT bar. The Ant Matrix has been popped by Renko, and everyone is trying to utilize it. Petal's sound barrier reinforces Avidity even more against this rally, and Supercharger coming through from Drifters. Can Drifters mitigate it? Seeker comes up big again. He's going along the back line, trying to find that damage. Oh, gets taken down at the last moment from Big Mouth. Overtime bar is still in play. That Molten Core is crisping everyone up, torched everyone on the point on the payload, and now it's just Soko here trying to do their best. Goes up and, can't quite demech in time, but a good push coming out.
Best is not enough for Soko, and Seeker getting stuck on that wall. Bit of a humorous moment. He's like, guys, I got this flank, let's go! And then he just gets immediately forced out. But really, like you talked about, these hot coals from Chopper, just making it impossible to stand on the point in overtime. Kind of doing what Eiko was trying to do, just a little bit better. And because of the fact that they're on defense, they can actually trade a couple of kills and know that they have this last second tool in the back of their pocket and use that to close out this first, or rather second push coming in from Avidity. Now with 2.5 minutes, they have all the time in the world to set up a good attack to get it just a little bit past that second point capture.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see how Drifters is going to, go and be aggressive for this push, right? Avidity has a lot of front load resources, like you mentioned, and so, you can't always meet fire with fire and have two massive tidal waves clashing into each other. Drifters is giving that space, forcing those resources out from Avidity, and then catching them with their pants down. So exactly. Wondering if we'll see that continue. Maybe Avidity's going to pick up on it.
Seems like they already have, because Seeker and Petal tag teaming in the skies once again, like we saw on Nepal. So you're on that Pharah. So now it's about if Big Mouth can actually effectively shut out this Pharah without having access to exactly where she's playing. She's going to be able to play above these ceilings. Ooh, Joshua getting pulled out a little bit there, but he should be fine. But the story here is going to be if Seeker and Petal can stay alive consistently, and Drifters need to scout this out effectively if they want to have a chance.
Crimson going up here as the Orisa. Those shields already thrown out, and they kite back behind them. Genji goes ahead, dashes through, doesn't find any kills off of it, but the immortality fields are out of the picture. Exchanges back and forth, and so much brawling up here on this high ground. Joshua's trying to get that final kill onto his counterpart, dances around the shield beautifully.
The point?
And, they finally clear it off, but Amintus, they were not paying enough attention to the point.
Yeah, just got 2 ticks, or almost 2 ticks, snuck out from underneath him. 1 is more than 0, though, so Drifter's not going to be too displeased with that first push. But they didn't really get a lot of ults to speak of, especially because Ship just swapped over to D.Va, probably to have an easier time with Seeker spam. And honestly, the spam is not your concern. He's going to get this barrage online, and if Avidity can keep Seeker alive throughout the duration of it, and actually stay alive afterwards, they can hold this.
Avidity needs to have a big performance here on that barrage. There's already 2 picks coming through. Seeker's got it online, and he doesn't even need it. He's just going to use that primary rocket and take everyone down.
Don't see a Pharah effectively using Baptiste window too often, but I am very glad I got to see it there because it single-handedly won that fight. That is a very large burst of AoE damage that is pretty much unavoidable once those shields go down. And we'll get a second look at it here, comboing with the pull of Joshua over those shields, just instantly eviscerating everybody on the side of Drifters. So back to the drawing board once again. They've got another good opportunity, but this time they're going main, so they have to reach the objective, but Eiko on this main is going to make it really hard to get through there, so they're trying to rethink their attack once again. They're rotating away, and it's left Crimson out to dry.
And Joshua's up here on this high ground as a turret, essentially. He gets to play Orisa's point-and-click adventure for a change, waiting up and shooting at everyone from Drifters moving forward. That's a nice halt coming out from Crimson, though, and here's the blade. Now we're hunting in the back line. Mercy doesn't know, but Seeker does go ahead and get a couple of picks in the process. Chopper pulls the blade. It's a little bit later in this fight, but can the value he needs be found? Finds 2 kills. Those are big ones, but his team has got to be there to capitalize. The res is successful. Renko is brought back into this fight for Avidity, and they have their supports. Just what goes down, though. No more tanks to try and keep the space. Seeker's doing as much as they can to keep this damage up.
Seeker
and Petal is absolutely pocketing him. He touches the ground and gets stunned. Petal almost dies. that escapes but in the nick of time, and well, absolute bombardment from the skies of Avidity here, handling the trickling coming in from Drifters and trying to close this point out at this last minute. They want this to end, but with Crimson just about going down, the Lucio booping off and almost dead, that is a map end with Avidity taking the win.
You forgot about Seeker, guys. He comes right back in on that Pharah, kills 4 people in overtime. That is that clutch factor coming in, and that's why we've seen Seeker have success in the past. He's willing to make those crazy plays that not a lot of other people would do. I would never in my life expect a Pharah to just come back in OT and instantly remove everybody, especially when he had struggled so much previously. But I really do think that Drifters just kind of forgot about him, and they get punished for it almost instantly.
Yeah, I mean, punished instantly was definitely what happened, and I gotta say, I feel bad for anyone who caught a rocket through the Ant Matrix. You know, it feels bad when I say we, but any of us, we catch that fire strike through the Ant Matrix, but oof, a Pharah rocket with Petal also pocketing Seeker? Hard pass.
That's gonna hurt.
Every day.
So, speaking of Petal pocketing, we will not get to see that anymore, unfortunately. No more off-rolling coming in. Fishcake has made it to the match, and we will actually see a main support player play main support for Avidity. So that is going to change things up drastically for this team. Now that they actually have somebody comfortable playing that role, it'll allow them to put Fishcake on something a little bit more mechanically demanding. We might see some more Lucio compositions coming in potentially. Even Brigitte does require that mechanical prowess, and I think Fishcake is ready to deliver. So Avidity redoubled by this substitution coming in, and I'm really excited to see where we go next.
Yeah, and with the new players coming in, it's gonna mean Avidity will be in that comfort zone even more going into, our third map. We've got the score 1-1. Once again, we are in a great matchup, Amintus. We're not having any washouts today here in the North American Trials. We came to play and compete, and I'm excited to see what they're going to bring for our next map. Obviously, there's been some back and forth, and we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll see who actually is going to come here to play and win. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back once again to the Contenders Trials North America Day 1. We are about to hop into our third map here of Avidity facing off against Drifters. And, well, Amintus, is this deja vu from our first one? Because we're at 1-1 going into map 3 once again.
I hopefully do not want to see as much of a back and forth, because previously I feel like it was only close since Fishcake was not starting. And now that he is officially back and starting in the main support slot for Avidity, things might be a little bit different this time around. But let's just mention now that honestly, main support doesn't really have a lot of impact in these double shield matchups. Typically, you just play defensively, you just get the rally online, or even the beat if the sound barrier if you're playing Lucio. Nonetheless, we're going to be pivoting to a bit of a different look here. We're going to Havana for our next map.
Yeah, and definitely a lot of opportunity for double shield to have some fortifying power on these turns and corners of Havana. I'm really curious to see what type of stylistic and communication we're going to see come out from Avidity with Fishcake on that main support role. That that's their role, that's what the team is used to him playing. What kind of communication difference does that mean for the team? Obviously, when Petal is in that support role, it's a very different dynamic, and you depend as a team on that communication dynamic from everybody and what they've been used to doing. So, what do you think some of the mindset going in and around Avidity with Fishcake being brought back on is going to be like?
First thing that I'll note is that typically in Overwatch competitive play, the main support is the one that tracks a lot of the ultimates and controls the flow of fights. They're typically the ones that say, hey, we should probably back up, or hey, let's go in super deep here. And then they tell everybody who has the R button, or the Q button in some cases. I don't know what the keybinds are for half of these players, but they track ultimates, which then allows you to have a better time in the upcoming engages. In between fights is really where main support tends to have the most impact, and Fishcake coming in will alleviate some of that pressure off of the rest of the team to track ultimates now. So Rinko and Fishcake tag teaming together once again. It's going to allow everybody else on Avidity to have an easier time too, because now you're not concerned about having your main support getting exposed anymore. You can trust that they are not going to get picked off as consistently as somebody like Petal. Sorry to throw you under the bus, buddy, but of course, like you're just subbing. It's fine, right? And as we go towards Havana, I'm expecting to see some more double shield like you talked about, potentially with a little bit of Drifter's flair, with the Diva Torb look, potentially to shut out some tracers, maybe some flanker comps that might potentially come out. Nonetheless, we can only hypothesize before we load in.
Right, and I like the term Drifter's flair. Definitely gives their own sense of spice and style to the compositions that, we have our standard rushes and brawls, but yes, these are the unique ways that they run these compositions. And, I'm wondering if they're going to have a much harder time against Avidity's tempo. Now that they have that main support in, calling those shots, I mean, I could probably use a little more help of, hey, you're inting. Probably shouldn't. But
you gotta rein in the inting sometimes. Yeah, that's
right?
where the main support comes in handy.
That main support, the main person who reins in the inting. There you go.
Avidity loading in here. We got 5 seconds remaining. They're going to be, I believe that's on the attacking side. Drifters on defense here. I'll actually figure that out once I see the people pop up. Yep, Avidity playing attack. Drifters coming in on that double shield once again, so no Diva time for Ship, who I thought actually had a very successful time on Diva previously. Interesting to see him pivot back to that, potentially expecting something like a Widowmaker from Seeker, because yeah, Seeker has been playing a lot of these flex DPS heroes previously, like the Pharah, like the Hanzo, but his Widowmaker is what I would say is his best hero, even in metas that don't even involve Widowmaker. This is where Seeker's really going to have that time to shine, show that hit scan prowess, and show everybody how good he is at aiming. And having such a big threat on a sniper opens up things for the rest of your team as well. If somebody has to commit resources to shut out Seeker, that means that players like Eiko, Joshua, Soko can start to walk all over Drifters. So the game plan for Drifters has to be to shut out these snipers.
And if you have pressure being taken off of those other DPS and tanks, that's so much opportunity. Okay. Shut down? Okay, we were gushing all about Seeker, but Chopper decided to come in and put us in our place talking about him. He's opened up this fight with Avidity already down one person. The res is successful coming through from Fishcake, so back to full strength and continuing to put that pepper damage in. Cart rounding the corner here around this first long alleyway. Drifters are gonna look to continue berating Avidity as they try to enter in through this front area. They're keeping a good mindfulness of this small room coming in from this side and the side damage from Eiko, but it is the front line coming up the middle, moving the payload that is still continuing to put the aggression down. Drifters holding strong through this Ant Matrix, and another pick and res on to Seeker. Avidity has to commit it, to the Widowmaker once again.
Did not expect Chopper to just headshot Seeker twice there. I guess it doesn't really matter how good you are at hit scan if the other guy's just better. Drifters coming in, they have to push past this Ant Matrix of Renko quickly.
Oh my gosh, he ate up so much damage through that Diff Ant Matrix as well. The Flux just picked everyone up, and now it is clear out time for them.
They just have to finish this last kill onto Eiko with a little bit of a flick from the accretion out of ship. Putting a little bit of that Drifter's flair like we talked about. So Seeker recognizes, hey, Widowmaker might not be the best choice into double shoot. It's struggling to find some opening picks. Pivots to the Genji that's going to get hard-pocketed by Fishcake with this Valkyrie, but he needs to build this blade quickly before Neptune can really have impact with this rally, which he's at 86%. It's a monstrous task ahead of him.
What? Wow! Oh my gosh, so much just happened right there. Between the Halt Flux combo and then the accretion that came out to stun it, so much going on. Avidity trying to manage and live through the Dragon Strike, tearing through them. They managed to stay topped off. Renko absolutely clutching it out for them there, keeping everyone healthy as much as he can. Eiko falls a little bit low, stressing me out there. Seeker's dashed up to the top, and Chopper takes it to the face from Eiko right there. Both of the DPS tag teaming and getting the damage done that needed to be taken care of. Boat wins that duel against Eiko, and well, can Drifters continue to hold steady here? He's looking for a target, but can't quite nail him. He dashes just out of the nick of time, and follow-up is there.
Finally, Drifters putting the bookend on this team fight with 2 closing picks under Renko and Seeker. The longer that Avidity stays in this, the more time they lose, and they've already lost 3 minutes of it. Seeker swapping over to finally mirror the Ash now out of Chopper, but it feels like it's too little too late. Nothing is really threatening Drifters on this corner anymore. No DPS are finding purchase, even when Eiko gets the headshots necessary. Seeker is left out to dry on that Genji. It's just too many fires that they can't put out right now coming in from Drifters.
Yeah, and the fire from Chopper's dynamite. Bob already kills Eiko out of the gates for this fight. The Flux is going to follow up and be the icing on the cake. Oh, the dodge from ship of the fellow accretion that time, but there's not a lot of time left, Amentus.
All about if Soko can get some value with his own Gravitic Flux. The pull comes in. Eiko dies on the off angle though, so the 5v6 is going to disincentivize Avidity from committing. The longer that they stay up here, the worse it is for them.
There's the Flux. Dragons are tearing through instead in response. Eiko goes ahead, swaps over to that Genji, but is it going to be enough? There's a brawl here from the Briggs, and it's Fishcake coming out on top. A scrappy fight here right around this corner, right around the supercharger matrix. Another kill from Eiko with the dash, and Avidity finding some purchasing, finding the aggression, and moving the cart just at the last moment.
It does feel like Eiko on that Tracer really did struggle a lot of the time. He was playing Hanzo to great effect, swaps to Tracer to have an easier time of it, gets shut out, has to come back on Genji, and he makes it work, but this recontest is all but guaranteed. It's going to force out some ultimates from Avidity, and now Drifters, they can either win here or burn a lot of volts. They win either way.
Man, there's a lot of flash and fights going on. Seeker goes ahead and gets that first kill as Soko is trying to continue to put the damage in and put the pressure on. Avidity wants to hold strong because they have to continue moving this point if they want to stay in this map.
And they will. They capture first off of the rally from Fishcake. Neptune, I would say erroneously, committing his own. After you lose a couple of members like that, you just play together tighter on the side of Avidity, and you're going to have a much easier time with it compared to Drifters. So this retake coming in now from the Drifters, they have a lot of space controlling. They have the Dragon Strike from Boat, the Flux from Ship, and a Bob coming online from Chopper as well to contest the objective. 3 very distinct tools that'll make this team fight a lot easier. Problem is, Jishua's got the Bongo, and that's going to make it a little bit harder to push and follow up.
Man, and there's already kills coming through Amentus. The Dragons tore through, zoned a lot of people away, and now Avidity has been thrown off balance, and they're continuing to be pushed back even farther by Drifters. This Bob online, oh man, just sent straight into the thick of the fight. Rekko tries to go ahead and get some value with that blade, but he's shut down so quickly after that. Drifters falling a little bit behind in some of their traction. Jeez, Bob coming up big from Seeker with a 2K Amintus, and Drifters a bit on the back foot here as they are trying to regain a bit of a defensive footing.
Yeah, Soko doesn't even need to commit the flux there on the remaining 3 members of Drifters. They have to back out immediately, and losing so many to Bob, gotta leave your head scratching as to how that gets, undetected on the side. Eiko pushing in on that pull coming in from Joshua, trying to build up another blade, but Soko's got the flux to prevent the contest. Oh, here it comes.
Oh, and sliced out of the air. There was no hope for any of them to survive that flux when the additional damage from Eiko on that Genji just bombarding them from below and then, well, slicing them when they're stuck in the air.
I love that hidden synergy between those 2 heroes. Typically, you think about double shield with the Baptiste. They're going to have the lamp for flux, but with your Genji, you can just dash back and forth between everybody in midair outside of the range of lamp. So Eiko and Soko tag teaming together to get a lot of value out of that ultimate.
And dash reset upon an elimination is busted in the hands of a master. And
yes. He's got one.
Jeez, yeah, killing Chopper already. The dragons are gonna tear apart Fish Cake though in response. There's still back and forth exchanges, and Avidity is gonna have the advantage. They're continuing to aggress forward, and that dash absolutely cleaving through everybody here. Once again, taking the damage and clearing them out.
And now they've got the same bongo blade combo online that they used to open up second point for them. With this Bob coming in from Seeker, that's another additional angle of pressure that Drifters has to effectively deal with on this recontest. And all they have is support ultimates. That's only going to stall the fight out longer. They need this to end quickly on the side of Avidity if they want to cap.
We saw Bob come up big in one of the last fights. We'll see how much pressure he puts on. Eiko's blade is tough, but he does get taken down very quickly. Points rolling forward, but no one was there to stall it, and there it is. Just waltzes on very quickly at the end. And once again, Bob coming up with 2 kills just at closing us out.
That's just ult diff right there. It seems like Avidity just had a little bit more check marks than Drifters, and they leveraged that to full effect, get the full capture with 56 seconds remaining. And honestly, watching a performance like that, it makes you forget how hard Avidity struggled on first to begin with. Once they found something that started to stick, they were managing to roll through the whole way. They did not really get stopped at all by the Drifters, and I think that speaks to Avidity's capability of adapting when compared to Drifters. And it feels like when Drifters struggle, they think, okay, well, let's just try the same thing again, but a little bit different. They never really go for the full comp swap, even with Chopper and Boat swapping over DPS-wise. The playstyle was still the same. Wait back and poke a little bit. But then when that poke doesn't get anything, then Avidity just runs into your face and brawls you with the blade, with the bongo, with the rally. It's just too much to deal with.
And it's very hard to handle so much aggression coming through at you, at your face. And, I gotta wonder if that, there's certain times and places to use the mindset of we need to scrap what we're doing and try a completely different attack or composition style. But, sometimes all you do need are those micro adjustments that Drifters was trying to make. So one of them has to yield better results, and at some point a decision has to be made to either keep doing what you're doing or try a whole new type of composition.
And that's exactly what Drifters opts into. They're going to hit the drawing board. Chopper and Boat swapping it up once again. We've got the Genji McCree rather than the Ashe on the side of Seeker. So Seeker's going to have an easier time at long range, but Boat, we've seen what he can do when he gets up close. He gets some big stuns on that double shield stack. So we need to watch that very closely on this next engage.
Yeah, 3 or 4 man flashbang is nasty. Boat did fall a little bit low though. Jeez, so much follow-up coming through from Avidity. Soko is absolutely dominating on that Sigma, and well, he's enabling his team so well with the shield and the kinetic grasp.
Oh, the reflect kill from Eiko for the style points as he watches Crimson walk back into spawn there. That's going to give him more blade charge as compared to Chopper. That's 66 to 31 in favor of Avidity. And that tool is going to unlock everybody else on Avidity to just run it in once again. That seems to be the style that works the best for Avidity because it leaves Seeker open on an off angle. And that extra threat is really just what pushes them over the edge in some of these fights.
Drifters opted to move around into the cover of the building for this next aggressive push here. Not nearly as much pepper damage that can come through on the higher angle, but man, it is a bit of a deja vu as Soko opens up the kill feed and man, those were dashes for days from Renko.
It feels like Renko is
not
unfortunately not dashing around. I would love to see Baptiste with that ability, though. I think that would be quite fun. Nonetheless, Avidity's doing a great job at taking these brawls on corners and catching people off guard. I mean, that pull was just so meaty from Joshua, getting all 5 members together for the dashes for Eiko, allowing him to charge up this blade. And now with this next close range engage, Avidity has the advantage once again.
You know when you see people slice 10 water bottles across?
Yes.
That's what it's like for Eiko here. Just slicing through everybody. The halt groups him up, and all you gotta do is the one clean cut takes him out.
I don't even think he hit anybody with his blade. It just seemed like Drifters walked up and instantly gave up the moment that Crimson went down. And that's kind of a problem because if you lose people early with this spawn advantage, it's still very winnable. I feel like a lot of these fights are being given up before they even start on the side of Drifters. And that's fine if you're banking up a lot of ultimates, but they are charging up very slowly.
Flux is going to be the one that opens up their recent push here. Doesn't find too much kills, and once again, Amintus Soko is the first person to draw blood in the engagement and continue to hold the point here. He's doing a great job at both protecting the front and discouraging anyone coming around under that side building.
It feels like Crimson has just struggled so much on this first point, just dying first in I think 3 out of the 4 engages we've seen so far. And you can see it in his ult charge. That was his first bongo compared to Joshua, who just got a second one at 50% almost. Although he goes down, he will be able to walk back quickly enough. That does mean Avidity has to give up this early corner though, so this is an opening for Drifters, especially with all these ults.
Ooh, here's the supercharger coming through from Drifters as well. That opens up Fishcake's death. Both follows a suit, taking down Eiko on top of it. That supercharger gave them the damage they needed to be that much more deadly, and now they've continued to push Avidity back. Avidity is going to have to regroup if they want to contest right here at the last end of this point.
They have to expect this blade from Chopper, though. He hasn't pulled it out once yet. Their plan on this retake needs to involve shutting out this Genji coming in from Drifters, and he wants to go deep with his rally.
Blade comes up, he's trying to slice and cleave through, gets stunned, doesn't get taken down, the immortality field is there.
No kills!
But Avidity just has everything they need. They didn't stop the payload from moving, but nobody died.
Well, I mean, you lost the point, though. That is the big failure here on the side of Avidity. You just gave up control after such a good shutdown of Chopper's blade. But now, with all of this map control, it's going to allow them to play in the spawn for a little bit of fun time, just burning some more time off the clock here. I don't really expect Avidity to try to take a winning engage here, but I think they might go for it if they feel like they're ready, not with these extra picks coming.
Nah, it's definitely let's burn some time and do some ult charging for ourselves. And I mean, after the mistake of letting them actually cap this first checkpoint, they could have stopped, they could have ended this map right there. But a little bit of a slip up, and now Drifters has time in the bank.
So if you see there, Seeker's Bob actually gets shoved out a little bit to the side by Neptune, and because of the fact that it's not standing on the objective, that's what prevents anybody from contesting on the side of Avidity. Retaking coming in with this Bongo Blade, or rather this Flux Blade, it's just already over.
Yeah, I mean, we could have blinked and that fight would have ended. Amintus, just the synergy coming through from Avidity. You know, in the beginning it was a little rough. Looks like Fishcake was just getting acclimated, but man, they have settled and they look on point.
This is a team, when it comes to Avidity, that the longer they play together, the more comfortable they get with one another, and the better their performance is going to be. The stark contrast between the start of this series compared to now is just so different compared to Drifters that have been playing at the same level this whole time.
Ooh, Flux is going to open up the fight. Seems to be a favorite opening attack here from both of the teams. No one has gone down yet, but both immortalities have been removed from the fight. Soko draws first blood once again, but Chopper is coming up with a vengeance. He's trying to chop up the fellow Genji, but can't quite find the damage. Now they dueled and he lost!
That is a duel you do not want to lose. The bladed Genji versus the dry one, and Eiko comes out on top with the help of Seeker. Again, these Bobs are just being completely ignored, and they are tearing through Drifters in these fights. 29 seconds remaining, and Boat's got one of his own, but when you're on the attacking side, really all it's going to do is provide an additional off angle or some more pressure on Cart that Avidity is capable of kiting away from. Avidity wants to take a long engage, force some resources early, and then strike when overtime is just about to hit.
have a lot of eyes here on Drifters to move this point forward. The Bob, I mean, it needs to be helpful and it needs to be able to create space. A nice high ground jump up there. Boom, takes down Seeker. Seeker didn't even look at him at all. And now Bob is free firing from this high ground, putting in the damage needed. Drifters has to continue to push this payload and make a stand here. Otherwise, it's game over for them on this map. Renko falls low, does manage to stay alive. Nope, not any longer, as Drifters are once again coming through to try and cap this at the very last possible moment, Amintus.
And that's kind of the problem when you want to play a slower style. Into pick compositions, the longer it takes for you to make your move, the longer you allow players like Boat, like Chopper, to set up those insane off angles, get some crazy headshots that make the difference in the fight. And that's exactly what happens there. Boat uses that opportunity to full effect and gets the opening pick, which then allows them to push through and capture second. Now in this retake, we've got a bit of a flub here. Renko dies first.
Oh, I thought he was falling into the water just now, that start. So stressful. He's continuing to just slice through though. He did not worry at all. He had everything under control. He knew he was gonna wall climb up Amintus. I was just panicking for no reason for him.
I mean, that was valid. I don't think he meant to dash down there. Most Genjis, when they played, choose to dash into teams rather than off the map. But nonetheless, Vinity getting control back off of that bongo blade. Love to see it. He comes right back and just cleans it up with the last three anyways. So a good recovery from a brief moment of mistake there. That's that mentality that you need to have. If you mess up, if you make a mistake, it's okay. Just come right back and do what you're supposed to do.
And that definitely goes to show the experience that they have to bring and, remain calm in those types of situations, not let us spiral out of control of, bad mistake after bad mistake, which, Drifters seems to be doing a bit of for this most recent fight. There's only 7 seconds left though, so they've got to get on the point. I don't know if there's anyone who can even contest and get close enough. There it is at the last moment. Neptune has to pop that rally to keep himself alive and in the fight. They're deleted and focus fired down, and the blade comes through from Chopper. Immortality Field takes him a little bit farther, long enough to get 2 kills. What? Echo takes him down in the end, but that just opened up the potential for Drifters to come back. Can this Ant Matrix from Renko keep the fight alive for Avidity? A charge! Amintus from all the way down. Drifters just turned it for themselves.
That was incredible from Chopper, so clutch in the final moments that they needed him to be. And now with Big Mouth getting this respawn coming in, he's getting this window online as well in overtime. That's going to make it even harder to contest the objective. And yes, Joshua has the bongo. Aiko's at 80% on this blade, but this fight can be over very quickly.
They are going to be funneled out of either side, and Drifters knows they have to pick one. They make it out here, mitigating a little bit of the damage, but it is going to be a tough fight here at the end. Renko has that blade, dashes through, isn't quite charged up. Immortality Field keeping him alive and topped off. There's the blade. He's going to be looking for a lot of value. Does fall a little bit low, but gets Neptune in the end. 2 in the back. Sliced low down, and there he is, just continuing to reap through them, and that is another victory for Avidity.
Love to see it for all the Avidity fans out there, clutching it out, even in the face of some heroics coming out from Chopper there. That blade took me off guard for sure. Nonetheless, I'd say Avidity there at the very end of the previous engage right before overtime, it seemed like everybody on Drifters had a good idea of what they wanted to do. And it was to go through that left side near the boilers on that 3rd point attack. Problem is, if you go inside of there, that is the perfect spot for fluxes. It's going to force out the lamp, you're going to be at very low HP, and then when you back up, Sigma's orbs splashing on everybody. It is a pool party over there for the Sigma orbs. And cleaving down pretty much everyone on the side of Drifters, and the overtime engage is exactly what they needed. Although it wasn't enough in the moment, they come back with the ults and win it in the end. 2-1 now for Avidity, and it does feel like Avidity is slowly downloading Drifters over the course of the series.
Yeah, I agree with you there on Avidity downloading Drifters. It did seem like Drifters had a few opportunities to really turn the fight, and they had some huge hero moments individually from particularly Chopper, like you mentioned, and those moments alone are not enough to carry them through this tournament, and honestly to carry them winning fight after fight. It is too dependent on the one solo person to get that value, get those picks, and Avidity seems to be working together, and they're when each other needs, right under each other's wings, or right there to lift them up.
Exactly, you hit the nail on the head. At the beginning of the series, it felt like Drifters was leveraging that experience together that they had and using it to full effect. And now it's not working anymore. They have to rely on those hero plays to make the difference in some of these fights, just because of the fact that, individually speaking, Avidity has the advantage in a lot of these roles. I'd say their DPS lineup has been stellar so far, and it's only been when Chopper or Boats comes out of nowhere to make the difference that Drifters gets an advantage. Consistently, fight after fight, I'm seeing it land heads more often than tails for the DPS of Avidity.
I agree with you on that too, and it's tough as the DPS to have so much pressure on you to get those kills, get those opening picks. I think that's definitely, it's one of the strengths and weaknesses of those initial sniper comps we saw is, yeah, if you get those shots, if you're getting the picks, it's a huge amount of value, but that pressure is all on the DPS to be fundamentally sound, to click heads, and to bring results. And being a one-man show and trying to do it all is not the name of Overwatch. And, I'm looking to see how they're going to change that up and if they can support those individual players doing those hero plays even more, or if we need to see some of those hero plays come down a little bit and actually help win team fights instead.
That is kind of the goal at the end of the day. The more team fights you can win, the better you're going to perform, because that'll just obviously give you more control of the map, which then gives you advantages that extend beyond just the initial team fight. If you can start setting yourself up for success in the future, beyond just that first fight win, that's really when you start to see teams dominating. And that's kind of what happened a lot of the time on that first point defense. Typically, you see teams get that early control, and then they use the ults that they build up from that first fight to just hold over and over and over again. But eventually, those run out, the enemy team gets 6, and then they come back through. Wasn't really the case on Avidity's defense. They were able to win a couple of fights that, in most people's opinions, they probably shouldn't have. And then Drifters has to be the ones that make those hero plays. So we really have to look at this next map of Hanamura and see if there's any skews in the compositions, once again, that favor Drifters in these neutral engagements.
I do think that the synergy coming through from Soko and Eiko, where left and right between the flux and the blades and the dashes coming through to follow up on the flux damage, people were getting shredded before they had a chance to even touch back down. And those are the types of teamwork and collaboration interactions that are putting Avidity just so much farther ahead of Drifters in some of these fights. That's how they're shutting them down. But in the blink of an eye, they were so fast sometimes, Aventus. Whew.
Exactly. I think we talked a little bit about the duo synergy coming in between the roles themselves, or rather just exclusively within those roles. I'd say Seeker and Eiko, DPS players that know each other pretty well. Jishwa and Soko, they've been on teams together. Same with Renko and Fishcake, but now Avidity is putting all the pieces together. It's like this massive web of collaboration between all 6 of the teammates, and everybody's now fully trusting one another to make the right decisions and make the plays when they need to. And now it really is only when they get surprised that Drifters has that advantage. So knowing that, Drifters, they need to come into this map, their own map choice, again, by the way, they need to have something surprising that really throws Avidity out of their comfort zone.
Attackers incoming.
And I don't know what would make Avidity thrown out of their comfort zone. And having so much synergy between all the 2 stacks, it kind of feels like we're finally putting together all the layers of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches to make the super sandwich of them all.
Yeah.
And I used to make triple decker sandwiches for lunch all the time at school, but it's all about how they can come together and create those results from the synergy. Having a duo synergy is great, but it's the 6-man that's really going to take the cake. And if they can soundly win with all 6, it's going to be nasty. Quick TP all around to the high ground, though. Avidity already on the point. This was so fast to move forward, and they're going to be looking to wall up. Yep, there it is. Eiko blocking off the main entrance, so Drifters cannot contest here. Now they're continuing to move forward. Jishua's just going to cleave them. Don't walk forward, because that's straight into the hammer. Now he's trying to continue defending strong, with Eiko finding a couple more picks in the back. They are brawling it out on this first point of Hanamura. Hanamura falls low a little bit here, and he needs to get topped off, but that was fast. It's 6:12 on the clock, and they already capped it.
That was blazing.
What?
It's a bit of a speed run here, and they have the TP on
my
coast
gosh.
to go even further beyond. Avidity with 6 minutes is poised to take another aggressive push onto second point already with these ults.
This could be one heck of a snowball. We are covering, and Seeker falls so low. Immortality Field saves them, and now they are topped off. The wall is going to be so devastating for Drifters trying to recontest here. Turrets going up left and right. TP is going to bring her up to the high ground if needed, but that Sim Beam is exactly like Azaria when she is that charged up. So much damage being outputted. Falls, finally, both getting 2 picks there at the end. Blizzard is committed on top of it. Aiko does not want to let this fight go down, and Avidity is still trickling on. Drifters are still trickling on. Can Avidity continue to hold strong here? And Louise Louise.
Okay, so that one was a surprise, but not from Drifters. That was Avidity surprising everybody, because typically when you get a first fight win with the Brawl comp on first, you stifle out on second. Those ults just are not enough to push you over the edge. That time it was, though. Unequivocally, that was domination coming in from Avidity. There was not a single moment of doubt. It felt like only a couple of picks traded back, but nothing so significant that Avidity couldn't overcome it, and that's exactly what they do. And I really want to point to a couple of the key components that enabled that. When Seeker gets charged up on that Symmetra, Jishua and Soko were doing a great job of pocketing him with their defensive resources. And even when Renko is unable to heal him up long enough for him to stay alive, he's already done so much work that everybody else on Drifters is panicking. It's already done, basically, mentally speaking. And now, as we go towards their next defense, they're skewing it once again. They're going with the Ash Echo. So this is something basically just straight out of the textbook of Drifters that we just saw on their defense, but they're trying to play it a little bit cleaner.
Yeah. And we just got this in from our producer here. If that had been a push in Owl, it would have been the 5th fastest completion time from a team. So
okay. So yeah, that was pretty fast. I think we just saw a small part of history there.
Nastily fast coming through from Avidity, and honestly, I was not prepared to have to jump into that like that. Oh, I love that dynamite. Clipping Crimson here right out of the gate. Gets a little bit of visibility knowing that they're coming up on the left side. And, well, of course, 9% already for Seeker towards that Bob. Crimson's jumping straight onto the back line. The stun comes through and Fishcake goes down. He was so low and didn't quite have the immortality field right next to him. Now that the pick has come through, thought they were going to be able to bust open, but Seeker just held strong.
Yeah, he said no. Yeah, you might kill my support, but I have a gun, and I'm going to shoot you with it. Ship gets taken out very late into this fight as well. And even though Fishcake literally walks out of the immortality field and just dies, it's still not enough. I think this is basically just mental defeat on the side of Drifters. That first push was their best opportunity because now Avidity has ult control, they have map control. All they have to do is stall these fights out because look at how big that time bank is. Even in the face of a Drifters full capture, they still have a great chance to come back.
A little bit of trying to hit that Tracer. She's zipping by here. Boat is on that Sombra, so going to be bringing a little bit different element and does get interrupted from the hack right there. Crimson aggressing here on the front line, but I think it's going to be too late as Avidity already has 2 picks and Drifters are going back and behind the choke to some safety.
I mean, these flanking DPS coming out from Drifters have been unable to get past to where they need to get to. Chopper and Boat have been shut out effectively by Seeker and Eiko consistently now. And now that there's ults online, for real this time, Drifters have to rely on this Coalescence to get something done.
Eiko goes down to the Coalescence. Boat follows suit and takes Soko down. Now the Drifters are up by 2. They have an opportunity to take this point here and capture the first objective. Seeker's Bob? Of course Bob is getting a kill. Once again a Mintus, but it's still Drifters pushing forward. Crimson has this Primal Rage online. He's not wanting to use it quite yet because, well, if you can save it, you're going to want it later.
I think Eiko was expecting to get the copy in the mid-fight there, but was just unable to get it just in time. Looks like he wants to try to use it anyways. He's going deep, gets hacked immediately, and forced out of that mech almost instantly, but just manages to stay inside, and they give up the points. Okay.
I thought they were going to be defending that point a little bit more, but Self-destruct goes straight on through, and I think it actually just landed on the very tippy edge of that, but still lost the point, like you said.
Yeah, there needs to be a quick reset here now because look at all these ultimates that Drifters are coming into second with, particularly this EMP. Fishcake gets it out in time, so they'll be able to live through it initially. But what about after this beat?
There it is. Beats reinforcing everyone. EMP only catches the 2 supports. Boat goes down. Renko doesn't care. He does go down to that pulse bomb in the end as Drifters are starting to turn the tide of this fight in favor of themselves. That Coalescence is keeping so many people topped off. Big Mouth absolutely clutching it for his team as now Avidity is in the same position Drifters was. They have to trickle onto the point. They have got to continue to try and draw this fight out as long as they can. Prevent. But Avidity still continuing to hold strong. Oh, Drifters needs to get on this point, but with Crimson going down a Mintus, they're gonna have to reset.
That pick from Eiko was just so big, it gets the support out, and then you lose the sustain, so now these late staggered kills coming in from Avidity, they're actually going to mean something. They get a second chance at life here. They had to swap up a lot of their composition to do it, so they relinquished a lot of those key ultimates, particularly on the DPS role. Seeker and Eiko need to try to build things up in the neutral quickly enough with this Reaper Doomfist, get the picks that they need before this 6-man dive comp reaches the point.
He just jumped right out of the way of the pulse bomb in the nick of time. Seeker does take down Crimson in response as well as Fishcake gets a boop. Not sure where he came or gets a kill with the boop back, actually. Now Seeker's getting aggressive here on this high ground as Chopper literally just zipped straight into those shotguns.
Blinked into his own demise. Nice flick from Seeker there to close that fight out, and the picks are coming through for Avidity here. They're having a very easy time with it because if you think about what Drifters Comp is trying to do, they want to play together. They want to stack on top of this Coalescence. Meanwhile, they're going to have to deal with a Reaper and a Doomfist constantly being thrown at them from all sides. It's not very well tooled to the tools that Avidity has on their own side, and already this adaptation is working for Avidity once again.
Boat's trying to be sneaky here and almost went for the hack onto Eiko, but Meteor Strike popped and he is in the thick of Drifters, punching them away, smashing them against the wall and trying to get that value. He's absolutely putting in so much disruption. Again, just jumps in there, throws them up in the air, and now Avidity is going to have to combat them with, oh man, with losing 2 people. Just got that charge, but it could still be tough.
It looks like Drifters do not want any of this. They're waiting for Big Mouth and Chopper to get back before they redouble their efforts. But again, it's just trade after trade after trade. I feel like I'm in a merchant's guild right now because everybody on Avidity just wants to trade constantly, and it's going to keep working for them. Drifters need to keep everybody alive if they want to have a chance.
EMP, it only hits Jishua. That could be enough to take down Avidity here on this defense. Seeker is found out when he TP'd up to the high ground, has to go down and get re-healed up. Oh, a kill comes through onto Crimson though, and that's Drifters losing one person after another. This is tough for Ship here as he's cornered in by this Reaper. There's only
Dagger
106
time
left on the clock, and if Drifters does not take this map, it is going to be Avidity winning the series.
Ship is, he's punching the air right now. He is wishing that he was on a different hero because that stagger is brutal. That's going to burn enough time to prevent an overtime contest coming in, unless if some kind of miracle happens where Drifters can touch it and win. But, I mean, in the face of these key ultimates coming in from Avidity, particularly the tanks, it's going to be hard to find purchase on the objective and stand there and survive. So really, all that Avidity has to do is stall till overtime or go for flank shatters.
Jeez, nothing found from the shatter though, used very early and aggressive. Crimson is the one who's going to pay for it. He goes down, but Drifters has the sound barrier reinforcing. It doesn't matter. Chopper's pinned to death here, and Avidity has taken this fight with 17 seconds left out away from the high ground and shut them down.
They want to go to spawn. I can already tell they're feeling it. They know that the victory is within grasp. 8 seconds remaining, but they need to get back quickly before Crimson procs that overtime. Gets forced out almost immediately. No grapple, hooked off the point and just dies. I don't think they even procced it, and that's going to do it. Avidity wins the series 3-1.
Wow, that was a great closeout from Avidity as far as knowing that they wanted to engage, be aggressive early beforehand, and closed out the fight before Drifters had a chance to regroup and have a real contest at the end. They very cleanly shut him down and took it.
Feels like no fish cake, no win potentially. Obviously, they did get a bit of a throwaway map, I'd say, on Numbani when Petal was still playing for them. Nonetheless, Avidity gets redoubled by that substitution, and they finished the last map in dominant fashion. I think this was the expectation coming into the series for them. They wanted it to be this one-sided, and it just took a little bit to ramp up to that level. So I'm really happy to see Avidity making that progress within this first match. I think this is a great start for them, and they need to maintain this throughout the rest of Trials against most likely some more difficult opponents like ISU.
Yeah, obviously ISU has a huge target on their back from everyone in this tournament, but that performance from Avidity was very, very strong. And, Soko came up with a 57% kill participation card.
That's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, we saw on, Havana, where he was constantly getting the opening pick, being a huge asset to the team, and, continued to do it here in Hanamura as well.
Absolutely. I think Soko is a player that is so individually talented, he kind of forgets about it sometimes. And this is coming from somebody that's worked very closely with him on Wisp. Underrates himself very heavily. He is a carry style player, and if you give him the opportunity to perform, he will not disappoint, especially on comfort heroes like the D.Va, like the Sigma. Expect to see more out of him in the future.
Nice. Well, obviously there's going to be a lot of eyes on Avidity, and all of those duos finally pairing up to be the one super team together. There was a lot of synergy, and when Fish Cakes came back in, a little bit of a falter in the beginning, probably just getting some of those, stretching and wiggles out or whatever, and just so sound came through and really put Drifters, in their place after that second map.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it. He kind of reminded them like, hey, that was not the starter. I'm the starter, and here's why. And comes through and makes it happen for the team. And I believe we're going to actually have a post-game interview with Joshua from Avidity, so it'll be fun to talk to an old player of mine once again. So in the meantime, while we're waiting for that interview, we'll just throw it to a quick break. So don't go anywhere, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to Overwatch Contenders Trials North America. We just saw a fantastic series between Avidity and Drifters, 3-1 in favor of Avidity at the end of the day. Now we've got an interview with Joshua, the main tank from Avidity. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Joshua, hey, sorry. Congratulations on your win, by the way. Obviously, it was a very good performance coming through from Avidity. What was some of your mentality going into the first match versus, after you had your main support come in, and how did that change?
Having to play a hit scan DPS that's playing on a laptop with 60 FPS on Mercy, I think we still could have won that map even then, but obviously it wasn't the greatest situation. But once we had Fish Cake back, everything was better because we know we should beat this team. Now we have our starting 6, we're fine. So
nice, back at maximum power for the team. So when you are going into this match against Drifters and your upcoming other trials matches, what have you been doing to prepare both in game and mentally out of game and beforehand?
Not much. I feel like we haven't really had the greatest practice, I feel like, but it's just Overwatch. We're all good players, so I feel like just reminding ourselves to have fun and just play the game. Just play the game that we know how to play. It's not that deep. It's just Overwatch. Just try to have fun.
That's fair.
Alrighty, first question from me, Joshua. How is it playing without me as your coach? Are you a lot happier now that I'm not yelling at you anymore?
I am 10 times happier, actually.
I don't blame you. I'm kind of a dummy. So.
My life is a million times better without you.
But actually, though, playing with a new team like Avidity coming in, a lot of these players have had experience with each other in the past before. Do you feel like you're doing a good job of meshing in pretty quickly with these new players?
Yeah, I'd say so. I feel pretty comfortable with my teammates. I mean, like I said, it's just Overwatch. They were just a bunch of kids playing Overwatch, so it's pretty easy to get along with them. Obviously, it's interesting meeting new people and seeing how they play and how they act as just a person. But it's been fun. I think it's going well.
That's good to hear. And closing question from me: would you like to give any particular people a shout out? Maybe 2 people? Question mark.
I always shout out the team, obviously, because it's a team game, so thank you for the team to help me win that game. And then obviously I always shout out my parents, because when I was on Wisp, I always did those interviews because we never had anyone else that wanted to do them, and I'd always shout out my parents. So shout out to them if they're still watching. I never know if they're still watching or not. But it is 10:30, so.
Yeah, they're probably I think we should go to bed now. So anyways, thank you so much for that interview. It's a wonder getting to talk to you and see you succeeding on your new team. Really proud.
Thank you.
All right, folks. Well, that is going to wrap up our North American games for today. Of course, there's going to be more coming to you tomorrow, so no need to fret. And there's always the EU broadcast as well if you're hungry for more Overwatch after all of this. Amintus, it was so fantastic casting with you today as our, Contenders Trials debut. Had some great matches, from the 5 match and the 4-1 that we saw just now. A lot of great back and forths. What are your thoughts kind of here at the end of what we've seen today and coming up for, the next remaining days of Trials?
Well, in spite of some initial hiccups with production, honestly, I can't blame anybody. I think it was just my internet connection that was kind of on the fritz.
I had it too.
Nonetheless, we finished it strong. I loved today. This was such a fun and entertaining experience for me personally on the mic, and I'm really glad that I got to do it with somebody like you. So I'm just really excited for the future. I can't wait to cast the European games on the 18th. So if you liked seeing us, hearing our cool words, we'll be right back at the same place at the same time. Well, maybe a little earlier in the day.
Earlier.
But nonetheless, I had a blast today, and I cannot wait to get some good casting in with you once again.
Ooh, I'm stoked to come and back and cast again with you as well. Before we close out, we're going to give some big shout outs. Of course, Monkey Bubble for bringing Contenders Trials to all of you, both the EU and the North American. And Really, it's the production. Everyone in production, from our observers and our producers and everyone managing, they're the real horsepower bringing you this show. Yeah, we narrate and commentate, but without them, there would be no show, and they're very much underrated. So big thank you to everyone behind the scenes who have put in so much work to make this happen. Folks, we look forward to seeing you again soon. There's tons of Overwatch all this week, so make sure you check out the Monkey Bubble YouTube channel, subscribe, set your alerts, whatever you fancy, and we will see you later in the week.